Good morning, everybody. Day after Election Day on this November 5th, a Wednesday, your midweek. I'm Jane Monreal. You are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We're going to get to your local election results here shortly. But first, now that election night is over, back in the spotlight is the federal government shutdown, now entering day 36 and making it the longest shutdown in history, and no clear end in sight. So to help us understand all of this, and as voters soak in what happened last night and how this affects moving into the future and the political landscape, is Catawba College political science professor Michael Bitzer. Thank you for joining us here this morning on Live Impact News, Professor.
My pleasure.
All right, so we're talking about a historic milestone here, unfortunately. Can you put in context for our viewers this morning how we got here?
Well, there is a very clear divide between the two parties, particularly in Congress. Republicans want what is called a clean continuing resolution, or CR, which simply continues to fund the government's operations at the previous level. We're in a new fiscal year. We started on October 1st, and generally, Congress should have passed appropriations legislation to authorize federal spending on a number of different programs. That has not happened in a number of years, and they use the continuing resolution dynamic to basically kick the can down the road to try and get to a budget in terms of funding the government. What Democrats have said is we want to continue the subsidies that were given to things like health care insurance and the ACA that are set to expire. And Republicans said, no, we're not going to include that. That's a separate negotiation. And so where we are, the continuing resolution passed in the House because of a simple majority, but in the Senate, you need 60 votes. You need to overcome a filibuster, and there are not 60 votes in the U.S. Senate. Republicans only control 53. They were able to get 3 Democrats to join them, but not close to the 60 votes required. And this is where we are. We're basically in a stalemate over government funding for a number of programs, and we're seeing the impact more and more on the average American.
Now, we are hearing that some senators are maybe talking and making some kind of progress. As far as a timeline, do you think we're going to get there to some passing vote by the end of the week or maybe next week? What's your timeline looking like if you were to predict?
Predictions in politics are always precarious, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But I think what we have heard are these very quiet negotiations that appear to be bipartisan in nature between Republicans and Democrats to find a way to get past this impasse. And I honestly think yesterday's electoral dynamics and the results coming out of the 2025 elections probably are going to put more pressure on Republicans to end this particular stalemate and give Democrats the advantage going into these negotiations. If we see something happen, let's say in the next week, that's probably the indication, but we'll have to also closely watch what the president's tone and temperament is. He's not going to be happy about the election results coming out of last night, and if he can use this budget impasse as a continuing threat, we'll have to see how he decides to work towards either getting this resolved and off his plate, or is he willing to double down and, basically prolong this kind of impasse? We haven't seen, as you said, anything like this, and I think pressure on congressional Republicans is probably going to be greater than on the White House.
Let's talk about, on a state level, the Carolinas and last night's elections and the impacts that maybe we are experiencing here from the shutdown that might not be making the headlines as much. What is your take on that?
Well, I think certainly, we're hearing much more about SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program that low-income North Carolinians and Americans rely on. Whether that's going to be either half-funded or fully funded, that debate is still very much up in the air, but we're starting to see concrete impacts on Americans because of this government shutdown. One of the big things looming in the next couple weeks is holiday travel. Thanksgiving is always known as one of the most intense travel periods in America. And if folks like TSA agents, if air traffic controllers are still not getting paid after 2 months, could we see further long lines at Charlotte Douglas? Could we see, the impact there? I think that that's probably going to be a pressure point to resolve the issue before we get to Thanksgiving. But again, no predictions being made in any way, shape, or form over this issue.
And as federal workers, air traffic controllers, TSA agents are missing paychecks and the like, at what point does this political cost really become too high for either party? Or are we there yet?
I think we're there. I think the lesson learned from yesterday's elections is that if folks were considering a potential Democratic wave in 2026, we already got the first cresting of that potential blue wave in the midterm election. I mean, to look at our neighbor to the north, Virginia, and to see out of 130 counties and cities, 126 of them shifted much more Democratic than they did just a year ago. That to me is the canary in the coal mine, particularly for Republicans, to say we're looking at a classic midterm election. The dynamics in 2026 means that probably the president is going to be highly unpopular. There are concerns about the economy, and North Carolinians show that particular concern in the latest Catawba YouGov poll. Those two factors combined mean oftentimes very bad results for the party in power, and that party in power this year are the Republicans in D.C.
How do you see this ending? What are some of the realistic scenarios?
I think the most realistic scenario is going to be within the Senate, a rump group of Republicans who are probably more moderate, say someone like Tom Tillis, will broker a deal to get to 60 votes to reopen the government, to provide those subsidies for health care and the ACA benefits. And then the question becomes what will happen in the U.S. House of Representatives. The Speaker has been very adamant. He is not going to deal with the ACA benefits and subsidies until the government is reopened. But does the pressure of Tuesday and the vulnerability of some Republicans in the House mean they are going to basically bite the bullet and pass whatever the Senate proposes? Then it goes to the president. What does he do? Does he basically sign off on this and they get this past this to go into 2026? I'm not real sure what the dynamics are going to be like, but I wouldn't be surprised by any of those scenarios.
Yeah, after night's elections and the Democrats winning big in some of those key races, definitely I can see sends a message to Washington, as the president is. It seems to be distancing himself a little bit, saying that, well, I wasn't on the ballot last night.
He can say that he wasn't on the ballot, but I think all the signs point to, indeed, his name may not have been on the ballot, but his policies and he were on the ballot of the voters' minds.
Is this political theater that we're witnessing?
When isn't politics theater nowadays?
More so, yes.
Yes, I think certainly they're if Republicans are thinking about waking up this morning and thinking, all right, how do we get out of this situation, they're going to have to basically make the shift themselves. And I think that this is probably the warning sign to them to say we need to move back to what Americans are really concerned about: the economy, affordability, all of these issues. But the president is known for being somebody who is very stubborn when he comes to an issue or an idea. He is willing to change at times, but he is really kind of doubling down and saying, I'm not going to reopen the government until I get what I want. That's not how this process works, and the pressure may be there for him to change and shift his tone.
Yeah, we'll certainly be keeping a close eye on that. More to be revealed. Professor Michael Bitzer from Catawba College, appreciate your time this morning, and we expect to hear from the House leadership as well. They've been like clockwork, 10 o'clock every morning since the shutdown started.
Good to be with you.
Nice to be with you. Thank you. And here on Live Impact News, we're going to take a break and bring back your local results and more of the shutdown and its impact on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back in 2. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. Charlotte and the surrounding areas seeing results last night. It looks like we have a change of the guard in at least one district for Charlotte. Our Ben Thompson and Lisa Washington recapping your election results.
Let's get to some of the other races here in Charlotte. The mayor herself easily going to remain in office, capturing more than 70% of the vote. And Lisa, Republicans at the same time lost a seat on city council, meaning there will only be one Republican on council going forward.
That's right. We're going to take a look at the at-large position results, and it looks like all of the incumbents, they are all going to keep their positions. We're talking about Diplomat Mayor Victoria Watlington, James Smuggy Mitchell Jr., and Lawana Slack Mayfield. Now, coming in 5th place and just missing that cutoff is Edwin Peacock. You may remember that he was the appointed District 6 representative. And now let's take a look at District 3, of course. Joy Mayo winning there, continuing her winning streak. You may remember that she beat current council member Tijuana Brown in the Democratic primary. And in District 6, that's where the Democrats picked up another seat. As we said, Peacock ran for the at-large position on the council. He lost. The Democrat Kimberly Owens won. She beat Krista Bakari by about 13%. Now, if that name Bakari sounds familiar, of course, Krista Bakari is the wife of the former Charlotte City Council member, Tark Bakari.
Also on the ballot for Charlotte residents is this 1 cent sale, 1 cent percentage point, I should say, on your sales tax, in part funding a lot of our transit system. We do expect Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles to hold a live press conference at 10 o'clock. More on that, and we'll bring that to you here live on Live Impact News. In the meantime, Arbria Smith also covering this angle the day after the election and passing that referendum.
Well, the next steps are to decide who will be on the new transit authority, and that will just help decide how the $19.4 billion will be spent over the next 3 decades. Now, last night's yes vote means that for every dollar taxpayers spend, 1 cent will go towards the effort of what city leaders say will be a safer and improved public transportation and roadway infrastructure. Now, the plan is broken up into 3 different focus groups. 40% of the investment will go towards road and pedestrian improvements, including roads and sidewalks. 20% will support bus system modernization, generating increased bus frequency, new shelters and benches. And that last 40% will fund rail expansion, introducing the long-awaited Red Line commuter trail connecting uptown Charlotte to Huntersville and Davidson. Tuesday night, a Yes for MEC watch party was held where city leaders celebrated the approved vote.
The basics are we're helping to reduce congestion and make traffic flow better, but the big thing is this is a big yes vote for opportunity, for jobs, for connecting people to those jobs, for connecting people to health care, to all of their needs for a greater future. You know, economic mobility is really everything, and that's what this is about.
And City Council will begin interviewing candidates for the new transit authority come next week. Back to you guys.
And again, we will have a live press conference with Mayor Vi Lyles. More on this 1 cent sales tax coming up around 10 o'clock here on Live Impact News. Of course, with the government shutdown, we talked to Catawba College science professor Michael Bitzer on what it means on a big scale. Here at home, a lot of food banks are needing so much help and trying to feed families, and what that means for our local area. Our Destiny Richards from one of the bigger food banks today in Mecklenburg County.
We've been here at Nourish Up all morning. They are now open for volunteers to start getting to work. The warehouse floor has been pretty busy this morning, so we are here in the sorting room. This is where a lot of donations are held. They have a food pantry on site as well, and it's one of many across Mecklenburg County that are stepping up as families go without food benefits, without SNAP benefits, that is. And with each day the government shutdown continues, that need is growing. And that's why the county just contributed thousands of dollars to help boost food resources, which includes 28,000 additional weekly food boxes to be distributed by Nourish Up to families in need. Mecklenburg County's community resource centers have food pantries as well, and they're being stocked up with extra food. About 138,500 county residents depend on SNAP, and with benefits on hold, local leaders say this is a lifeline, but not a replacement for federal aid.
The need for food and nutrition assistance in Mecklenburg County is still immense. Despite having the largest amount of SNAP recipients in North Carolina, Mecklenburg County is not permitted, nor are we financially in a position to supplement the costs associated with the federal program.
There's also a call for the community to help fill the gap as well. Donation boxes are already set up at several libraries and recreation centers across Mecklenburg County, and officials are urging anyone who can to pitch in as demand for assistance continues to climb each day. And I really wanted to highlight the sorting room here this morning because this is where there are piles of donations here waiting to be sorted. But this one in particular, these have been here since yesterday around noon. So within just 24 hours, the response has been great, according to the folks here at Nourish Up. So definitely donate if you can. You can also give monetary donations. That link is nourishup.org/MetCares. That link, as well as more information about where to give and how to get help. That's all in this story on the WCNC News app. I'll send it back to you guys.
And Destiny, we've seen
And right now, happening live out of Washington, D.C., is a press conference talking about the tariffs of what it looks like now. There's Senator Markey holding alongside other colleagues within the Senate, as well as small business owners, discussing SCOTUS arguments over the legality of President Trump's tariffs. Let's go ahead and listen in live on Live Impact News.
We saw the first indications of it last night at the polling places all across our country. If Trump's tariffs continue, they'll cost small businesses more than $200 billion every single year. And to date, Trump has collected nearly $108 billion from American businesses using his emergency powers. And for what? To pay for tax breaks for the wealthiest corporations and individuals in America. This is Robin Hood in reverse. Trump's tariffs are illegal, they are unconstitutional, and economic craziness. Small businesses want their money back. That is what's going to be heard in the Supreme Court today. And as we will hear today from small businesses across the country, they are facing tens of thousands of dollars in Trump tariff taxes. And today's stories will show the world what Main Street already knows. It is not other countries that are paying these taxes, paying these tariffs. It's America's small business owners. So I call on the Supreme Court of the United States to do what is legally, morally, and economically right. Stand with small businesses. Rein in President Trump's king-like power and stop him from turning Main Street into Pain Street all across this country for small business owners and their workers. So we thank all of you for joining us here today. And now let me turn and recognize the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, a great leader, Ron Wyden.
Thank you, Ed. These tariffs are sending too many small businesses to an early grave. And they are Trump's fault, but Congress's responsibility. And what we're saying today, the senators here, is we're stepping up. We're going to be there to make sure that we get a fair shake in the legal process, we get a fair shake in Congress, and if the House of Representatives, after what we did, which was to pass legislation to send these global tariffs to this early grave, if the House of Representatives doesn't come back immediately and take advantage of the opportunity to end some of Trump's worst tariffs, voters can send the same message they sent last night because they are not listening. We have been out across our states listening, and all kinds of small businesses in Oregon are saying this unpredictable tariff spree is too much for them to handle. A small manufacturer in Southern Oregon told my office that the global tariffs are so unpredictable and sudden. Have you all seen that? I can't hear you. Yes. Oh, just checking. It's been difficult to buy the equipment they need to build more of their products in the United States, and the cost of that equipment is going up. Are you seeing that? Yes. Oh, good. All right, we're getting this resolved. Small nurseries across my state are paying more for key inputs, and they're seeing more longtime buyers in Canada refuse sales. Brewers are paying more for equipment and cans and exporting less beer overseas. Are you seeing that?
We're going to break away from that press conference right now because up to the north, Virginia Governor Youngkin is holding a live press conference right now on last night's historic results. Let's go ahead and listen in here live on WCNC+.
Thanks to Governor-elect Spanberger of Virginia that is stronger than it has ever been. And so with that, again, I congratulate her on her victory last night. We are committed to work with their transition team to make sure they are prepared and ready to go on day one. And most importantly, we are committed to running through the tape and making sure that Virginia is exactly what we know she is, the best place in America to live and work and raise a family. And so with that, again, I want to thank all of the candidates that ran. I particularly want to thank Winsome and John and Jason for their dedication during the campaign season. And I want to thank Winsome and Jason for their partnership during this incredible 3-year and 10-month journey with 2 more to go in order to finish strong. They have been extraordinary partners, extraordinary public servants, and their character is beyond reproach. And finally, I ask for God's blessings on the Commonwealth. I ask for God's blessings on the incoming administration. And I most importantly ask for God's blessings on all Virginians. And so with that, thank you for coming, and I am happy to take a few questions. Thank you. Perfect. Let's go here first.
Governor, the election results last night showed a decisive victory for Abigail Spanberger, the Democratic ticket statewide. Do you think this was a repudiation of President Donald Trump's DOGE cuts as policies directed at federal workers, or is it something else?
Well, let me just begin with there are going to be pundit after pundit after pundit who will unpick the results in Virginia, in New Jersey, in New York, and have lots of theories. I, as a governor, will today do exactly what I knew I would be doing today, regardless of the outcome, and that is preparing to finish strong and hand the next governor the best possible Virginia that I can hand her. It was going to be a her one way or the other. And therefore, that's what we're focused on. I do think that the government shutdown is a big challenge. It is a big, big challenge. I have been vocal about it. I think that we have 330,000 federal workers in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And to have this shutdown extending as the longest shutdown ever has been extraordinary for so many Virginians. People are going without paychecks. They're worried about mortgages and rent. They're worried about how they're going to feed their families. The challenge of this government shutdown is real. And I am incredibly understanding of that challenge for all Virginians. And I think it caused quite a turnout yesterday. With that said, that's why we have been so focused on making sure that, particularly when it comes to providing food assistance to the most vulnerable Virginians, we're just not going to let that get interrupted. And I call on our senators to vote to open the government and then sort this thing out. But this has been an incredibly disruptive time for Virginians to see the government now shut for over a month, to see our military worry about whether they're going to get paid, our air traffic controllers and TSA folks at the airports not getting paid. But again, we have 330,000 government workers in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I can't imagine how disruptive this has been for their families. And so I do believe that had a major impact on yesterday. Yes, sir.
And that is Virginia Governor Youngkin answering questions from media the day after a historic election there in the Commonwealth. We'll be right back with a look at your local weather after the break. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:30. So we got most of the election coverage done, at least for now. We're going to take a little break because we also need to know about the weather.
Boom.
And whether or not it's going to stay lovely and fall-like. Or
It
it is
won't.
fall. Not fall-like, but fall. Hello, Chris.
So, no, I'm going to be a realist. I'm an optimist, but I'm
Yeah.
just letting you know that these 70s right here are fake. They're real, but they're not going to be here long because literally it feels more like, or will feel more like mid-October today. By the time we get to the end of the 7-day, it literally is going to feel more like the middle of January here in the Carolinas.
We're not happy about that.
Got your attention there. All right, so beautiful skies.
January.
Yeah, January. No. Now, January averages 52 for a high and 32 for a low, so it's not as terrible as some of our friends to the north. But still, dropping down to that point this time of the year is quite jarring. And of course, in January, we could still have highs in the 30s, nowhere near that. So, talking about average January. But anyways, I digress. Our current temperatures right now, 54 degrees. It's been a nice little warm up. Now that the time has changed, it's typically at the end of the 6 o'clock hour that we have our sunrise. So that means from 7 to about 10 is usually our quickest warm-up throughout the day, and that's exactly what we've been seeing. We are officially 42 degrees for a low today, 41 the day before, and now we're already up to 54, and we'll be probably close to 60 by 10 o'clock. Compared to just 24 hours ago, not a huge difference, but that is a big difference for you in the mountains. You're 14 degrees warmer there, and elsewhere it's either a little bit warmer by a couple degrees or a little bit cooler, but nothing too sensational. Yesterday we officially hit 69, but today, because of the winds out of the southwest, I think we're going to get up to 74. So that's why I've been deeming today the pick of the week. Thank you very much for the sound effects. Pick of the week because it's going to be sunny, and also it is one of the warmest days that we have. Now, Saturday does look to be just as warm, so I still think that's going to be fantastic. It's just that today stands out because of the sunshine factor. Both days will be breezy, but there's also a slight chance for rain, kind of a question mark heading the weekend. Likely we're staying dry, but this was an easy choice because there's no problems except for that stronger wind. As I mentioned, it feels more like middle of October. 74 degrees is the average, I think right around October 13th is what I saw. And it's also not just November 5th. It is also National Chinese Takeout Day. Just letting you know. Today is National Donut Appreciation Day. So many people call it National Donut Day. Well, that I think happens in June. There's a second one that's Donut Appreciation Day. So what happens is they're able to add appreciation so that you get 2 a year.
You get 2?
Yeah, there's cheese appreciation. I think there's pizza appreciation. So there's always kind of a secondary one. So this is a secondary donut. So you don't need to eat one. You just have to take a second and say, wow, I appreciate you. Food with a hole in the middle. And National American Football Day, I had to look up why. The reason why is there's 18 weeks in the National Football League, and we officially just got done with 9. Wednesday's the middle of the week, so it is the official halfway points of the regular season. So that's why it's National American Football Day. And Redheads, shout out to you. You don't get enough credit. National Redhead Day. Also today. So just wanted to give you kind of some other insights of today. I always like to do our National Day calendar if it's a good plethora of one. Now, if it's going to be like Left Shoe Day, I'm probably not going to mention it. But if things that you can use, like shout outs to Redheads, Donuts, and takeout. Kim, hope you listen. Let's get some Chinese food. Our winds are going to be interesting over the next few days. I have wind gusts up to about 25 miles per hour by this afternoon to about 2 p.m. and gusts to about 30 up in the mountains. This wind range will be back for the weekends. I think it simmers down over the next couple of days. Also, what's going to be back later on tonight is the Beaver Supermoon. And the funny thing is, I always love to post some of my blunders on Facebook and stuff like that. But I called it the Super Beaver Moon and kind of made a superhero joke. So I actually had some viewers, like you see here, send me this AI image of this Super Beaver. Super Beaver.
That's so nice.
It's really cute. Yeah, so shout out to Mary and Rhiannon O'Shea. So really do appreciate you. I thought that was super fun. But the moon officially became full at 8:19 a.m. It'll still be within like the 99% range, but 5:18 is when it rises back up. 8:14 is when it sets, and this will be 2 of 3 supermoons, and the next one that we see on December 4th of next month will be just as bright. We're close enough. Our rainfall that we're going to see heading into this weekend looks to be very minuscule. So when I'm calling for rain chances, I think it's going to be very light, slight, and not really last too long. Right now, it's looking like up to a 1/4 inch of rain, so that gives us a range of anywhere from 0.4 to about a 1/4 inch. Some areas a little bit more, but it just really shows that I think in general more rain in the mountains and not as much around the Charlotte area. This is all because of a cold front. This cold front is going to take its time passing the mountains, and once it does, it will allow for some rain, I think, heading into your Sunday. So as of right now, there's a lot of question marks still. It looks like there's a chance for rain Friday night into Saturday, and then Saturday night into Sunday. That's another reason why I didn't give Saturday the illustrious title of Pick of the Week, because it's surrounded by rain chances. I think it could be fine in the middle of the afternoon, but certainly seeing more clouds. But once this front passes, it's actually not this front. It's a secondary front that's really going to change things up. So the drastic change that we see is behind that one that drags in the Arctic air, bringing us snow chances on and off for your Monday and Tuesday. Colder air here in Charlotte. It's not a record-breaking cool down. I looked it up for November 11th, but November 11th has a record low of 24. I have a low of 27. So honestly, close enough to a record to I'll call it a near record-breaking day. And then it'll be near freezing for the following day next Wednesday. But another big part of this is 8 a.m. on Tuesday, because the winds is still going to be pretty blustery. It'll feel more like the lower to the mid-20s to kick off your Tuesday morning when it's actually freezing. And the mountains could have a wind chill near 0. So this is what I'm talking about, feeling more like January, because it truly is. And our 7-day forecast shows a tale of 2 halves, or I guess one would be like 5/7 and 2/7, but that doesn't sound as good. We have 74 degrees today, right around 70 for your Thursday, Friday, and then lower to the mid-70s this weekend. Sunday right now looks like rain in the morning, so you should be dry for the Panthers game at 1 o'clock. But then this cold front, the second one, is so drastic that I think we drop down to the upper 30s. Most likely the 20s for the mountains, but I don't see us hitting 50 degrees. So you might have the sunshine mixing with some clouds, but yeah, and there's also snow chances for the mountains. 27 degrees to kick off your Tuesday, that's Veterans Day. Highs around 50, and then after that things get a little bit better, but still going to be on the colder side. So that's why I'll do this all the time. I like to show you the longer range where we're going, because you don't want to miss out. I don't want you to be on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week saying, oh man, I wish I took advantage of those 70s. Do it now. Do you know what? I'll write you a weather note, whatever you need, because
weather note?
Yeah, I write them.
Get out
I'm
of
not
class.
saying that they're going to be helpful for you, but I will write you a weather note. I don't know if bosses accept them. They're probably not as effective as a doctor note. You can probably read my signature just as well as a doctor, but I will still do that for you because I want everyone to enjoy the coming days.
That looks great. Today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Got to get out. Gotta have lunch.
Yeah,
And
even Friday and Saturday's
Friday.
still not too bad. Sunday just has a little bit more question marks, but yeah, especially the next 3 days, it's a nice little sweet spot.
Oh, gosh, that's fantastic. All right, Chris, thank you so much. And the Beaver Super and the Super Beaver
Oh yeah,
looking fantastic.
Let's see if I can. I want to show you the one that I made with AI this morning.
You also made one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Super Beaver.
My gosh, that's cool.
I know, it's fantastic, right?
It's so cute.
That is great.
I think this is my new comic strip here.
Like, that's a minor league baseball team.
No,
You know what I
right?
mean?
The Super Beavers?
Right? Like, that's...
And is it because I don't know. I don't want to ask a dumb question.
No, don't. No.
What is why is it named Beaver Super?
Okay. It's a super because it's a super moon. The super moon just means that it's closer to planet Earth. So it's about 17,000 miles closer to Earth than it usually is. So it appears up to 7 to 14 times larger and brighter. And the reason why it's the Beaver moon is each month has a named moon. And they're primarily done by the North American and Native American tribes. So different indigenous groups for the different time of the year would have certain names. So for example, this is the Beaver moon because I think that's where the beaver pellets, and they did a lot this time of year. The previous one I think was the Hunter's moon. Then there's often the full buck moon, naming a few of them. But the next one is the cold moon. That one's obvious. The full wolf moon that comes up in January is called that because that time of year the wolves are especially known for being hungry. So they would hear the wolf howls. And
they
then
howl.
February is known as the snow moon because, believe it or not, February is responsible for some of our biggest snowstorms, as they would see there. And then going forward, I think you have the worm moon. I think that is March and so on.
Oh,
You have,
wow, you got them all.
Yeah, you have like the flower moon, strawberry moon, and those are all just associated with what's happening that time of year.
Well, it sure is pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty. Yeah, it has you're not going to see a beaver in the moon. Maybe a super beaver like this on my graphics and stuff. But yeah, I always thought that was really interesting. And it's fun that people were sending in pictures and laughing about it because I accidentally called it Super Beaver Moon instead of Beaver Super Moon. But I kind of like Super Beaver.
I do too.
Yeah.
It actually flows off the tongue a little bit easier too.
Oh, definitely.
Super Beaver.
Dun, dun, dun.
Moon.
And that's exactly what I did this morning. So yeah.
I love it.
Perfect. All right. Chris Mulcahy bringing us the super weather, at least for the next 3 days. Da-da. Fantastic. And we will take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, Senator Markey, I should say, in Washington, D.C., holding a live press conference because of the tariffs and what it is doing to small business owners. So he, along with some other Senate colleagues, are holding this press conference. Let's go ahead and continue to listen in on Live Impact News.
Headquartered right down the road in Laurel, Maryland. Through our over 200 suppliers, we source trains, toys, and model products from countries all over the world. Since the president announced his so-called Liberation Day, we've received thousands of price increases from our suppliers, increases directly caused by the tariffs. These price changes have cost my business and my customers thousands of dollars. For example, our most popular remote control cars and trucks have had many changes in the past year. The most recent round of increases, just a month ago, ranges from 7% to over 20%. To put that in real world numbers, that's the equivalent of the selling price increasing from $349 to over $420. Trains and race car sets, toys, models, and building supplies, you name it, all of them have seen price increases. Plastic models and the tools to build them have had so many increases in the last 10 months that suppliers now just stick the word tariffs in the product description to alert us because even they have lost the ability to keep up. The impact on our cash flow is severe because we either have to purchase more stock and sit on it or purchase it later at a higher price and lose the profit. And please, Can we make sure that we start calling these increases what they really are? Tariffs are a fancy word for import tax. Taxes imposed on American businesses and taxes paid by American consumers. Heading into the critical fourth quarter, our customers should be talking about their holiday plans. Instead, all we're hearing is them talking about how high prices are. Can they afford health care? Will the government reopen? Why does everything cost so much? The imprudent, reckless, and constant yanking of the tariff leash is hurting small business, and it's killing consumer confidence. And it's not just me. Polling by Small Business Majority, a network of more than 85,000 business owners, shows that 60% of small businesses have increased higher costs due to tariffs. And of those businesses, more than half said their costs have increased 10 to 25%, and some of those are even experiencing increases of 25 to 50%. Senator Markey stands atop a small group of legislators who recognize the damage that is being done to small businesses and their customers by this administration's on again, off again, and then maybe back on again imposition of a never-ending stream of new import taxes. The House majority has been consistent only in their failure to stand up for American business. The inability of Congress to act now forces those same businesses to rely on the Supreme Court for relief. Presented with the facts, every single lower court has ruled against this illegal imposition of import taxes, and I hope that the Supreme Court does the same. Thank you. Thanks. I'd like to introduce Sarah Wells, thank you, founder and CEO of Sarah Wells Bags.
Thank you so much to Senator Markey and colleagues in the Main Street Alliance for having me here today. This is such an important day. The Supreme Court case, the decision that comes forward, will truly decide the fate of my small business and millions of small businesses in this country. Again, I'm Sarah Wells, CEO and founder of Sarah Wells Bags. I have the honor and privilege of providing breast pump bags and breastfeeding apparel to new moms across this country. My story is really all about a small business that has tried to do the right thing. I have tried to manufacture in the United States over and over again, but the infrastructure is just not here for my products. The supplies and the equipment come from China. So for 13 years, I've manufactured with the same factory in China, but after paying the first IEEPA tariff at the beginning of this year, and also knowing that this administration wants less reliance on China, I got on a plane and I went to Cambodia. I moved all my manufacturing to Cambodia, and about 2 weeks after I placed my first order there, the Liberation Day tariffs came down, including 49% on Cambodia. I have been shut out of manufacturing my very successful products that have been made a profitable small business for over a decade. I can't manufacture here, I can't manufacture in China, I can't manufacture in Cambodia. Not having that inventory has had a devastating effect on my small business. We have laid off our workers. We are not filling open critical positions. I only employ Americans. These are American jobs. We have had to stifle growth, stop product development. We even this summer started selling out of our best sellers. So I am going into this holiday season without my best selling inventory, let alone that consumer spending is also down. Inevitably, the Supreme Court case and the decision that comes from this is the end of the line for my small business and others like me. If they don't overturn this and say that this is no longer acceptable, we will close our businesses. I'm so grateful to the senators for continuing to allow us to have an opportunity to share our stories and for shedding a light on this. I just am here to tell you, I want to get back to doing what I do best as a small business. That's creating American jobs, innovating the products and services that the big companies don't make. We fulfill a niche. And also supporting communities. I'm all about supporting new moms, and that's what I want to be doing, not fighting the system. Thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce Megan Ellis from Schilling.
Actually, we're going to step in. We're going to have Beth Beneke come up, who's with Busy Baby in Minnesota first. Thank you.
I'd like to thank my senator from Minnesota, Senator Markey as well, and Main Street Alliance for allowing small businesses like ours to be able to tell our stories to America and help Americans understand how the current administration's tariff policies are affecting American small businesses. 8 years ago, I had a baby, and I came up with an idea that solved a problem all new parents have. That's babies dropping and throwing everything on the ground. I created the Busy Baby Mat. It's a simple solution, a silicone placemat that suctions to the table or the high chair, and it's got a tether system that you can hook up their toys. I got onto Shark Tank with that product 4 years ago, and then my brother quit his job and joined me in the business. And together we grew that product line to 8 patented products, all designed with the same mission to keep babies' toys within reach and off the ground, at home and on the go. We grew revenue so quickly, we made the Inc. 5000 2 years in a row. We got contracts in Walmart, we got contract in Target, and then as Senator Klobuchar mentioned earlier, this year in March I was named by the SBA Minnesota Small Business Person of the Year. That was 3 weeks before Liberation Day. I thought I was creating my own American dream, and in just 3 weeks it came crashing down around me. What it meant for us is that we had to abandon our products in China. We had all of our summer inventory ready to set sail, but would have had to come up with over $200,000 to pay the tariff if we would have shipped that product to the U.S. That means we were out of stock for 2 months. Little to no revenue coming in, but all of the same operating expenses. All of the momentum we had built over 4 years of marketing and growing our business completely died. I have had to cash in my retirement. I have used up all of my savings just to stay afloat. I have had to let my brother go. He's returned back to his old job. We have ended contracts with 8 other small American businesses who help provide services that supported Busy Baby in our growth. We are currently running a holiday survival sale because our revenue, like everyone else, is way down. We're down over 50% since Liberation Day. And if we don't make enough money this holiday season, we are probably not going to make it to the end of the year. So, President Trump joked about Biden's auto pen, and with his aristocratic pen, he single-handedly is destroying America's small businesses. I hope that the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the Constitution that I spent 10 years in the Army defending. We need our checks and balances. We need all of our Congress members to get back to work to fight for the American people. I did not vote for Trump, but I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I am an American, a veteran, a mom, a business owner trying to keep my small business and my American dream alive. With that, Megan?
Hi, my name is Megan Ellis. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Schilling, a Massachusetts-based toy company that has been bringing joy to children and families for over 50 years. At Schilling, we design and manufacture classic toys from Neato to Big Wheel, and we sell to more than 5,000 independent toy stores all across the United States. These are family-owned Main Street businesses, the kind of stores where children press their noses against the glass and the owners know every customer by name. But these small businesses are struggling. The recent tariffs have placed tremendous pressure on companies like ours, and by extension on every one of those small businesses. The reality is that nearly all toys have been made in China for over 40 years. That's where the global supply chain, tooling, and expertise exist. Manufacturing simply doesn't exist elsewhere at scale, and we can't just move it overnight. We've asked our factories for price reductions, and they've worked with us, but they are already operate on very slim margins, so we are unable to secure any significant cuts, certainly not enough to offset even a fraction of the cost of these tariffs. These tariffs don't punish foreign governments. They punish American small businesses, American workers, and American families. At Schilling, we've done everything we can to absorb the increases. We've raised some prices, but we can't raise them all without hurting our small retailers and pricing out families. Every extra 10 or 15% matters, and for some stores, that's the difference between staying open or closing after the holiday season. Consumers are facing tough choices. Families are deciding how to stretch every dollar between food, clothing, and toys. When they do buy toys, consumers are often turning to the lowest price options at big box retailers or online marketplaces. That leaves small, independent toy stores and the American companies that support them in a very precarious position. When the lower courts ruled that these tariffs were illegal, it gave small businesses like ours a glimmer of hope. Upholding that ruling isn't just about legal precedent, it's about preserving jobs, protecting communities, and keeping the spirit of American small business alive. I want to acknowledge Senator Markey for his leadership and continued efforts to get these tariffs repealed. He understands the toll that this has taken on Massachusetts manufacturers like Schilling and on the small businesses who make up the backbone of our economy. His advocacy underscores that these tariffs are hurting American businesses, not helping them. If these tariffs continue, companies like ours will have fewer resources to innovate, fewer American jobs to sustain, and fewer small stores to serve. This isn't a fight between nations, it's a fight for the survival of American small businesses. We urge the Supreme Court to uphold the lower court's decision and affirm that these tariffs are unlawful. Doing so will protect the U.S. toy industry, the thousands of independent retailers that rely on it, and the families who deserve affordable, joyful toys this holiday season and for generations to come. Thank you.
Hi. Senator Markey wants to thank everyone for being here, especially our small business owners for being here in this fight. The senator did have to walk over to the Supreme Court. He's going to go inside for oral arguments, but we welcome any questions for.
And that was a live press conference right now before the Senate starts their session. We'll take a break here before we come up on the 10 o'clock hour on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hi, everyone. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. As we come up on the 1 o'clock hour, we are awaiting Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles to start a press conference. This is live now at the Government Center in Uptown Charlotte, talking about the 1 cent referendum tax that passed. So that will be funding the city's transit system, a lot of projects, including a red line up to the northern suburbs. And she will speak more on that after winning last night's election by a landslide, at least 70%, to continue as Charlotte's mayor. When that happens, we'll bring that to you live here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Also, The president is, we're waiting this live picture where the president is going to board Air Force One and head to Miami for the American Business Forum. He did have a breakfast earlier today at the White House with Senate Republicans, and his remarks are, they've wrapped up. We are waiting to re-rack those comments so we can bring that to you full here on WCNC Plus. And a live picture right now out of Greenville, South Carolina. This is the South Carolina State Guard. And what they're doing is deploying to Harvest of Hope, the largest food bank in the state, as SNAP benefits are impacted there all over the country. But amid SNAP shutdown in South Carolina, they are deploying the State Guard again to the largest food bank. All right. As we are continuing to follow election results, including the tax referendum in Charlotte and what that means for Mecklenburg County, as well as your local sales tax, we're also following the government shutdown, 36 days now, making it the longest in American history. What does that do for federal workers, over 700,000 of them not receiving a paycheck? I talked to Mark Henry, local financial expert with Alloy Wealth, not too long ago, as this interview still holds, and the tips that people should be following, not only government workers, but really anybody, so you don't find yourself in a position where you're scraping by. You need to start building that emergency fund. More of this interview as we await the press conference from Mayor Vi Lyles now for you on WCNC Plus. Today marking now the 24th day of the federal government shutdown, leaving hundreds of thousands of federal workers without paychecks. They're scrambling, trying to make ends meet. For many families, that financial strain is real. Those mounting bills are coming due, and savings are dwindling. So joining us here live in the Live Impact studio on WCNC Plus, Mark Henry with Alloy Wealth Management to discuss what affected workers can do right now. Mark, thank you again for coming in on short notice here, but this is a huge story, right?
Yep, it really is.
Give us the latest on where things stand now with the shutdown and what federal workers are facing.
Well, unfortunately, the shutdown's definitely going to extend to next week. It's going to go at least that long. The Senate's already left town. They're home.
Right, right.
So that's not happening. You know, it was close yesterday. It looked like they had an attempt to try to get federal workers paid, and Democrats blocked it. 3 crossed the aisle to help join the proposal to start getting paychecks flowing to federal workers that do come in. But 3 wasn't enough.
They needed 6, yes.
Right, they needed 6. But it got closer.
Right,
so that is
right.
the good news. Let's go with good news.
Sure.
We needed a few more, but it got close. So that would have ensured that federal workers continue to get the work through the shutdown, keep receiving a paycheck. So bottom line is we've got a problem, and there's a lot of these workers that are really hurting right now.
Yeah. When that first paycheck doesn't arrive, definitely scary. Now we're into 4 weeks of it not happening. And now people are worried about things like their credit scores, in addition to actually paying their bills. They should. All right, just after 10 o'clock right now, and it looks like Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles just stepping up to the podium to start a live press conference on the transit tax. Let's go ahead and listen in here live now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Thinking about this and what we're doing. So I want to say thank you to all of our voters, the people that made this possible for us. I want to thank you for electing me to serve this term another time. I want you to know that there's nothing better than being able to be standing as the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina today. It's absolutely one of the things that has been passionate about me all of this time. You guys forget I grew up in Columbia, but I was raised in Charlotte. And that means a lot to me, so I'm really thankful. I want to really help as we move forward again. The opportunities that we will have in this city will be great, and I hope all of us will be prepared to be a part of it. So, again, thank you to all of the voters that showed up, and thank you for the election opportunity for me. And I'd also like for you to welcome our newly elected council members, Joy, JD, and Kimberly. I really can believe that these folks are going to help our council be even better. It's going to create the opportunities for us to do more, especially as we start thinking about how we're going to take on things like affordable housing, jobs, all of these things that make a difference in our city, and growth and safety. We needed these extra hands on our opportunities right now. But I want to go ahead and have some ideas about the history that we had last night. I cannot even imagine, as we waited yesterday to see what we were going to do about the mobility plan, and its excitement, and the way that we were looking at it is the voters made it possible for us to do this. And I can tell stories about the mobility plan. Some of you may even remember them. You know, we talked about doing this so many years ago. I think it's been 5 or 6 years. Marcus, is that about right? There are stories that I could tell with all of the other town managers, with everyone that's touched this in some ways, but some of those stories need to stay inside our circle of just understanding. But I hope that our community will understand greatly what we have done and the steps that we've taken that's going to do this. The mobility plan is just so much more than we were talking about. Vehicles, pedestrian, bicycles, transit, safety, all of these things that are going to happen in our community. Our team has built a 30-year transportation investment strategy that would connect this community to home, jobs, medical care, and other opportunities. The strategy is what you've all known as our transportation referendum. So let me talk a little bit about the people that supported us. The Charlotte City Council, the city staff, Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, the members of the MTC, the town mayors and their elected bodies, Commissioner Durrell and the county commissioners, and especially all of the former mayors that have been helping us find this place that they were supporting, and then that allowed other people to support the program as well. But again, this is all about our voters, and last night you joined our team to make this city more accessible, to give the city opportunities, to give people a place to thrive. So I know that this is what's going to be possible for all of us. I know some of you are asking probably what happens next. When does this start? So why don't we go ahead and say it starts right now. The CATS team is launching another round of community engagement across Mecklenburg County. Think about this in the way that I think about it, which is very simplistic. That, we had a really great book that the city staff had put together, and it said, these are some of the things that we can do if this passes. And today we're beginning to take that action, that we are going to do things. You are going to see sidewalks. You are going to see pathways. You're going to be able to see all kinds of activities as we continue to address what we're going to do now. So I'm really proud that CATS, I hope they've all gotten ready, because this is going to be a terrific opportunity for everyone. This means that we have to do a lot more work. This means that we have to listen to the residents in every neighborhood so that they can shape what opportunity that they want to have. Maybe they want a sidewalk that we thought we didn't need, but they will have that opportunity to do that. And then think about this, Better Bus Initiative, including microtransit service that will roll out as soon as possible so that people can see what we're doing and what implementation really means. Now, that is probably going to take about 5 years, but 5 years can go so quickly in a place like ours. By that time, I hope we've relocated almost everybody that wants to move here. So, the rail projects are already in design and will move quickly, with major progress expected within the next decade. The Red Line, a long-awaited project, will finally move forward. Now, we know that the Red Line is not going to happen overnight. It will take time, commitment, patience, and a lot of hard work. so that we too can say we have that train and we're going to do something that we're going to be proud of. So let me just say, at the end of all of this, I know that we're going to build a greater city, a city that people want to choose to live here and be here. Places where we will find opportunities so that people that are already here have the ability to thrive. Together, we can build not just the city, but a region in this country right now, something that we can all be proud of, I want to thank you for believing in our vision, for helping us shape a future, and we're getting ready to work. Thank you all for so much opportunity to be here today. So, let's see, what do we do next, Jason? Hi, Nick. I listened to you.
Oh, okay. It's nice to see you. Yesterday's vote on the transit tax wasn't necessarily a landslide. So what is your message to the people who oppose the transit tax? I think it was about 45% of voters. And how do you plan to lead a city that was divided over this?
Well, you know, I don't think that this is a city that's always divided. I think if we give them the opportunity to tell us why they didn't support it and the opportunity for us to step up and figure out what we can do to mitigate that, then I think that that's what we'll be working on. Charlotte has had other referendums, I expect, maybe not as young as I am today, but I think that what we're trying to do is make sure that people know that they are welcome to support this and welcome to be able to define the things that they want in their community and their neighborhood. So let's just start off with the idea that we're going to work to educate and talk about this, but we're going to ask the community leaders what will they want to do, because everyone's going to get a part of this, the road money, you know, and I don't think that there's a road in this town that doesn't need road money. I tell you that truthfully. So I'm thinking that what we'll do is work with the community, because that's going to be the most important thing that we want to drive back for us. So that's where I am.
Smudgy wants the MPTA fix tomorrow. It's no cooling off period for the Farmington Council here. You get two choices. What kind of characteristics? As you weigh the point, what's in your mind about who you would like to serve as your picks?
Well, I can tell you a secret that I've already told James Mitchell who I'd like to serve, and there's a reason why. I remember reading that we needed to have people that understood what we are trying to accomplish in goal. What is our goal? What do we do? And so I believe that we're looking for people that will be committed to this hard work. This is not going to be an easy task. I mean, I'm not in construction or whatever, but we know that this is going to take time and diligence. And so the people that I supported as my two choices were, one, someone that I felt very comfortable that would actually say, this is what we need to do, or maybe we don't need to do this. These are people that live in this community that I have known for years, and they've always been supportive of what this community does. So my picks, and I don't know I want to call them that, but the two people that I asked to come together, they were energized with their ability to say, we're doing something for this city because this city has been great for us.
Is there an idea of the earliest the red line would start? And is there any way, is there an idea of that?
I am not in the construction business, so I'm not going to do that. When we get our CATS group together, when the MTC gets the authority, I think that's a better question for them. I believe that we have to do this. There's a timeline that the government and that the PAVE Act has given to us, and so we're going to have to move forward on that, and that should be coming up pretty quickly. As you heard Joe say, James Mitchell has got this ready. I think that the council members, as well as the county and all of those other organizations that have to put somebody on the table, that will happen pretty soon.
Mayor, there was a lot of debate about structure during the MPC season, relatively close margin last night. What
I know that several of you have probably looked at the precincts and all of that, so you probably could answer your own question. I have understood that there were opportunities that people came out and they had read one thing perhaps, but I think that it was basically, if I can say this, I think people believe in Charlotte. I think a lot of the people that voted, they may not have had a story to tell like we're having, but I think that they do know that when things have happened in the city that we've been committed to it. And I think that that trust, we've got to do more of it, and we'll be doing more of it, I think, in the next several months. But I think that's what makes the difference. I think that people may have walked into the ballot box and they were not going to vote for it, and then all of a sudden it scrolls up and it starts saying transportation. I think that then that's when they said, I'll take it, and they voted for it, and I'm really proud of them for taking that chance on us.
Mayor, on the trust issue, what do you think has to happen? Because as you heard, there are already so many questions about does the business community have too many people, or there's too many people, like people calling layers of growing, and so on. So what do you think is going to have to happen, and how soon is it?
Well, the first thing that I think has to happen is that the Charlotte City Council has to understand that we're carrying the weight of this trust. And so that means that we are going to have to figure out ways to be a part of this, as well as what we're doing to build it. Now, I don't think that that's a simple answer for this, but I believe that most of the time you will probably keep us straight. You'll be the people that will come back and report what's going on. Or we'll have people that come down to this dais to say, you told me that this was going to happen. But I think there are a couple of key things around this. One, the displacement issue. Everybody understands that because of what we had done when we built the other 2 trains. So we're going to have to really watch carefully around displacement. And then I think the other thing that's going to be important for us to do is to tell people exactly what we're trying to build for them, and that they tell us that that's okay to build for them. And I think that's what, I think the people will trust us, and I think that you guys will help them trust us as well.
The second question to that is it that issue or something else? What do you think is the toughest part now that we have this legislation ready to go?
Well, I think in the next couple of weeks we need to get this authority up and going. I think the county and the city have an obligation to say we're going to make this possible, and we're going to get people that we can have on this authority board that's going to support what we're trying to do to make this a better city. We're going to put as many buses on the street as we can in the next several months. That's what we're going to do. We're going to showcase what we're doing. We're going to tell people that they can be on a bus, they can have a bus that's going to get them to places, and especially people that need jobs. You know, I know that many of us think about, well, we may have a car or whatever, but I think when you start talking about where jobs are and whether or not they're third night, you know, like the people that have to work really late at night or have to go in very early, bus will be the thing that will make that work. And I believe that that's what we'll be doing. That's the way, you know, what do they say? The show me first, and then do it. Okay.
One of the other big issues that we heard from voters at the polls yesterday was crime, especially around uptown. Police have said that crime in uptown is up 12%. So how do you plan to address that in your fifth term? And maybe that, and the second question, just like in terms of traffic congestion, do you know when voters might expect to see some relief in traffic congestion from this plan?
Okay, let's start off with safety. We know that we have a problem with safety, but if you were here a couple of days ago and you saw Stella Patterson come out and talk about a plan, I believe that we will have the work of our CMPD folks has been very important, but more importantly is to have leadership so that we can have the ideas that we want to put in place place. So I expect, I'm not going to talk for the manager, but if Stella Patterson asks us for things that she needs to make the city safer and to actually bring down our temperature, then that's likely to be something that he will be able to have. I think it's too important right now for us to do this. I mean, it's a very difficult place to be when you say you don't feel safe. I also think that we ought to spend a lot more money on how do we make sure that we can use technology. I think lighting is important. I think, taking where people can be and have officers there working now, all of those things we are doing. But I think that the chief will make it possible for us to do more and will give us more guidance, because that's what she's done in Raleigh and she can do it here.
You are watching a press conference live with Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles on the 1 cent tax. She's answering questions right now from media, but we have this on our secondary channel here on WCNC Plus. So here in the app, you can go check things out and continue monitoring Vi Lyles' press conference from the Government Center, because right now we want to turn our focus on Charlotte FC, folks. Yay. It happened. It happened. We are going to a game 3, Carlene. Our rally towels helped.
They helped?
They helped because we lost game 2.
We lost
game 1.
Yes.
And then won game 2.
Yep.
So now we got to take it to a third.
Yeah, bring them to game 3.
Bring it to game 3. All
Good
right.
vibes.
Huh? Look at that.
Yeah.
Crowns up, people, crowns up. Eric Krakauer, by the way, brand ambassador Charlotte FC, is here live in the Live Impact studio now on WCNC Plus. So thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. There's a good series. There's a good little competition.
It is. Can I just say before we talk about Charlotte FC that
Please.
You are so good at what you do.
Oh, really?
You really are.
Really?
And
This,
Trent, who is my babysitter, he's off camera. We were talking about it before. You're exceptional at what you do. So now we can move on.
Eric, well, thank you for coming on Live Impact News. We're great. All right, we're good. All right, no, Eric, let's talk about the series here. So we lost 1 here at the bank. That was not really fun to lose at home.
It was ominous. It was ominous because we'd lost both our previous games at Yankee Stadium. Our only win against New York City FC in New York, or in this case in New Jersey, was when we played them at Red Bull Arena, now Sports Illustrated Stadium, which is home to their rivals, the New York Red Bulls. So after losing that first game in what was, a very cagey and gritty affair, alarm bells were ringing, but they got the job done. And really, if it weren't for the post and the crossbar, we wouldn't have needed to go into penalties.
But maybe we just need that excitement to bring it back here.
Yes.
Just end on a good note, win, and move on.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's happening this week.
It is. It's happening on Friday. And I can tell you that before that defeat to New York City in Game 1, all previous 4 encounters had been won by the Crown, and they had outscored New York City 7-2. So statistically,
we should win.
The statistics, I should say, are on Charlotte's side. But this is going to be a very tough matchup. But I can tell you with certainty that New York City did not want to come back here because they realize how difficult of a task it is to win at the bank, especially when the fans are in full voice.
And that's what it's about. We need to get full voices out there, Carlene.
It's a very hype crowd.
It is. We have a good crowd.
We do. We have a great crowd. And, I've traveled this country calling games for MLS for a while, and I've been to incredible stadiums, and there are incredible fans everywhere. But the fans here are amongst the best. However, and this is a call to action.
Okay.
That's a marketing term, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. Call to action. I'm educated on these matters. It was very cold last Tuesday. And that clearly had an impact on the performance from both sets of players as well as on the fans. It's not easy to be energized when you're freezing and you're bundled up, but you could feel it a little bit. And, I've extolled the virtues of our fans for 4 years. I was the first play-by-play commentator, and I remember that on my first game I needed to use 2 IFBs, 2 earpieces, in order to drown out the noise so I could hear my producer.
Right.
But what I'm asking for on Friday is that it is electric throughout.
You got to bring that noise.
Sometimes, and the relationship between fans and players in any sport is reciprocal, right?
Yeah.
If the team isn't doing well, understandably, there's a lull in the voices of the fans.
Sure.
But if that happens in this game, that is when the players need a pick-me-up. And they react to the energy that the fans give them. So there can be no let-up throughout this game. This is an important game. They're on the verge of making history. They've already broken so many records this season. Best home record in MLS, top 4 finish, which outdid last year's top 5 finish. So let's continue to achieve new marks, and for that to happen, the fans have to be just completely on board. They are on board, but they have to be at their absolute best, and so do the players. Yes, the whole time.
All right.
Well, weather will be on your side.
Yes, that's right.
It'll be around 70, so that'll help at least lift the mood a little bit. You know.
I was freezing. And I was wearing socks, which I usually don't. Or I was wearing show socks. Usually, what do they call them? No show socks, Trent? Is that it? Yes.
Oh,
you had your ankles covered.
Yeah,
I had my ankles covered. First time in decades.
The why bother socks. All right, so Eric, what do people need to know about going to this game?
Well, first of all, no fee Wednesday today.
That's
so if you want to
today.
purchase tickets online, all the added fees are out. So tickets will be at about $40 or at $40. So do that. And if you just happen to be in Uptown, go to the box office, get a ticket. Make sure you get one for yourself, for your neighbor. Bring everybody out. Let's fill the bank.
Let's fill it.
We need to protect the fortress.
We need to do this.
Bring your rally towels from game one.
Come
Swing them around. There you go.
I got
Look
some
at that
practice. Look
technique.
at that. So much better.
Flawless.
So much better. I got some practice in there. All right. So there are tickets still available, obviously. Go. Support the Crown. Come on. We can do this, people.
Go to happy hour before the game. Enjoy.
Yeah.
It's Friday after all. Fill up Uptown. When that New York
sold.
City bus arrives, let them be intimidated by the atmosphere.
Yes.
It can't just be me, Jane, and Eric here. We gotta get the people out here.
Exactly.
All right. So we'll spread the word here on Live Impact News. Game this Friday. What time?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Work your day. Do the happy hour thing.
Yes.
Walk over. Schedule your Uber ride.
Yes.
All the things.
And if you have any scheduling conflicts, cancel whatever you had planned.
Boom.
Somebody told me they were going to some other sporting event. I said, no, absolutely not. I mean, we support all teams here in Charlotte.
Sure.
But on this day,
You gotta be
on
selfish.
Friday, you have to be selfish. It's all
All right.
about soccer.
All right, all about soccer. We have to bring it because our other teams, we're fabulous. We support them all. But like Eric said, it's here, it's now. We got to bring it.
I
So,
like that. It's
all right,
here,
one more.
it's now.
It's here, it's
Crowns
now.
up.
Crowns
Crowns
up.
up.
Boom. Oh, crowns up. All right, Eric Krakauer, he's going to be on Charlotte today later on, here coming up in about half an hour. So thank you for dropping
for
by
having me.
here
Always a
first.
pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon and see you on TV soon. And he said, this was the place to be. Live Impact News. Heard
You
it
heard it
first.
here.
Heard it right here.
You're a delight, Jane.
Thank you, Carlene. Carlene tells me all the time I'm a delight, but I hear from somebody else. All right. We're going to take a 2-minute break here on Live Impact News and walk Eric out. We'll be right back on WCNC Plus. 10:30 is the time right now. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We've had a busy morning this day after the elections, and we're talking about the government shutdown, tariffs, with the Supreme Court now hearing arguments on President Trump's tariffs. And because of the federal government shutdown now breaking a record, 36 days, House leadership now speaking on the steps there in Washington, D.C. Let's go ahead and shift over to them live here on WCNC Plus and listen in.
Urging the pain for the Democratic shutdown for. But let's be clear. Bowing down to the communists and socialists who control the Democratic Party, it has consequences. Whether you're one of the 3.2 million travelers stranded or canceled with flights, or the consequence of a family on food assistance wondering how they're going to get by. That's some of the consequences that the Democrats are okay using you to leverage for. Or a federal law enforcement officer going without pay while protecting our communities. But that's okay, because the Democrats think all law enforcement agents should probably just be defunded anyway, except when there's a problem in Detroit. And then all of a sudden, we're very thankful that the FBI and law enforcement came in to protect us. Bowing down to the radical demands of radical socialists is causing real Americans to suffer. Consequences for the safety of Americans, consequences for our economy, and consequences for your hard-earned money. And consequences gravely for our country. So Democrats, it is time to stop ignoring the consequences. It's time to stop bowing down. It's time to reopen the government, end the demands, end the shutdown, and let's get back to putting hard-working Americans first. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, questions? Yes, go ahead. I've called on somebody else. Go ahead. Thank you. We're having a press conference. Thank you. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. And you should respect free speech. What's the question? What's the question? What's the question? I can't hear you because we have someone who doesn't respect the rights of their colleagues over here. I'd love to talk with you. Wait. I'd love to talk with you. Come to my office, okay?
You have an obligation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about it. I've been doing that. We did that before the shutdown began. We went to the White House. We went and sat in front of the Resolute desk. We brought Leader Jeffries and Leader Schumer in, and we had a discussion. The president said, please don't shut the government down. It would cause all this pain to the American people. This has never happened before. It's a clean, nonpartisan CR that every Democrat, including you, voted no on September 19th. You voted to shut down the government. You voted to stop SNAP benefits. You voted to not pay the troops, not pay TSA, Border Patrol. You may regret it now, but that's your vote, and it's on the record. So the president had us in, and they didn't want to have a dialogue or debate. They thumbed their nose in it, at him, and he had to do it. Appreciate it. Thanks for your input. Somebody give me a question that's real. Well, he and I talked about it early this morning. We woke up very early, and we talked about the outcome, and I reminded him that, as we know from history, those of us who watch these things very closely and always do, that an off-year election is not indicative of what happens next. I mean, look at Virginia, for example. Glenn Youngkin won his race for governor, and then the Democrats, the opposing party, did very well in the upcoming midterm election. These off-year elections are about different things, different dynamics. In Northern Virginia, there are a lot of federal employees. They're probably pretty upset, and they should blame the Democrats for that.
You're watching live. There a press conference from the House GOP leadership on this 36th day of the federal government shutdown. You heard mention that a lot of workers are affected and impacted, trying to get them back to work. And that is having a ripple effect on the Americans at large, the population, especially when it comes to travel. And as we look at the holiday travel season between Thanksgiving and New Year's, it is really we expect to feel the pinch here if this continues much longer. So Katie Nastro from Going, our travel expert, our go-to here, is now joining us live on Live Impact News. And Katie, you said that you're feeling this, you're seeing this from other media outlets talking to you, and that it is the topic du jour, isn't it? What are you telling everybody?
Yeah, look, Jane, it is one of those time periods that we have never seen before because this is now the longest shutdown in history. And what we know from previous shutdowns is the theme that we've talked about nonstop is the longer this lasts, the bigger the impacts are going to be for travelers. And what I can say is we've really been sort of lucky in the way of cancellations up until this point. But late last week, we saw the compound of weather and these impacts of the government shutdown come together in a very bad way, where we saw over 1,000 cancellations across the nation at any given point and any given airport. And because of the impacts of the shutdown, everything is just even more stressed. And so what we can tell for travelers is that this is likely going to get much worse in the coming weeks. And we are wouldn't be surprised if this kept or continued through Thanksgiving, which would be incredibly, incredibly messy.
Oh, my goodness. Do you see any regions of the country that are impacted more than others?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say that New York has seen its fair share of ATC staffing triggers in the last few weeks, as well as Texas. Houston is actually grappling with the impacts of the shutdown in the way of TSA. In the last 2 days, they've seen TSA delay times reach well above 3 hours at some point, just for processing, just even to get through, to be able to get to your gate. That's not even when you get to your gate when we see those impacts due to staffing triggers. So we're now starting to see the impacts in areas for TSA delays. And really, there's no clear pattern as to where this has been happening or could happen in the future. But we will say that areas like Phoenix, New York, Texas, these are all places that we've heard of multiple occasions of seeing impacts on travelers.
So many areas around the country. And like you said, as we get closer to Thanksgiving, that's really going to be a nightmare, anticipated nightmare. So what can travelers do? Anything?
Yeah. Well, I hate the term pack your patience because this is like playing Russian roulette. There is just no idea when you're going to have to pack your patience. But I would suggest to travelers a few things. One, if you can at this point, try to consider driving if possible, especially due to the fact that gas prices are at a multi-year low. So that's one sort of bright spot in terms of alternate transport. As well as, if you can, try to target an early morning flight. I'm talking 6, 7, 8 a.m. even. Those early morning flights haven't seen the impacts due to the shutdown nearly as much. They really start to compound the later that you get into the mid-morning, into the late afternoon, when you see a lot more business people traveling and just leisure travelers in general. So we want people to wake up a little bit earlier, give themselves the best odds at getting out on time. Early morning flights, just by the data, have a higher on-time arrival rate by 25 to 30 percentage points versus those afternoon or evening flights. So while it's not a magic bullet, it is sort of your best case scenario for navigating these uncertain times.
And when it comes to getting a refund, a lot of customers or passengers, I should say, if they're waiting for so long, and if it's the mechanical versus weather, what are the rules when it comes to getting a refund or an exchange? And is a government shutdown at all factored into any of this?
Yeah, one bright spot is the DOT regulations of when you are significantly delayed or can't have your flight outrightly canceled, you are still protected, regardless if this is due to impacts from the shutdown or weather, which is the most common cause of why we see flights getting any disruptions to begin with. So we want you to know that you still are protected. However, what I will say is that the significant delay, it has to be 3 hours or more for this to be in effect. So if you've been waiting 90 minutes, 2 hours, unfortunately, you don't have any recourse there to opt for that refund or to get rebooked on a new flight. But we have heard of airlines sort of prompting customers when it is looking like the delay will continue on. If they want to make a rebooking, I've had this happen to me in app where the airline will actually give me an alternate flight if I wanted to take. But that's not a across the board. They don't necessarily have to. But we just want travelers to remember, if you are significantly delayed by 3 hours or more or outrightly canceled, you can get rebooked on a new flight, or just decide I don't want to travel at all and take that refund back to your method of payment.
Katie Nastro from Going, thank you for weighing in. Good information, as folks are definitely seeing the impacts now as we are into this 36th day of the government shutdown. TSA agents affected, as well as air traffic controllers. Katie, thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thanks so much for having me.
And right now, the Senate is in session. It appears that Chuck Schumer is speaking right now. We're going to go ahead and turn our attention to the live Senate floor for a minute on Live Impact News.
Here's one glaring example. He tried to axe federal funding for the Gateway Tunnel between New York and New Jersey, the biggest public works project in the country, employing tens of thousands of workers and ensuring continued prosperity and good transportation in the entire Northeast corridor. But he axed the funds, and he's axing the funds was aimed, in his mind, at Democratic leaders like Leader Jeffries and me. In the end, it totally backfired and became a big factor for voters making their decisions in New Jersey and electing Mikey Sherrill by an amazing 13 percentage points. And one of the main issues in that campaign was Donald Trump's vindictiveness in cutting off this tunnel and trying to use it, again, and all the workers, as a hostage. So again, let me say it again. Last night serves as a 5-alarm fire for Republicans, a warning from the American people. They're tired of Donald Trump raising people's costs, raising health care costs, ignoring the needs of working people. The right way forward for Republicans and for all of America is to negotiate with Democrats to reopen the government and extend the ACA premium tax credits. The American people have spoken. Enough is enough. And on SCOTUS and tariffs, which is being argued by the Supreme Court right now as we speak. After an overwhelming rejection of the Trump Republican agenda at the polls, this morning, Donald Trump's lawyers are at the Supreme Court trying to argue his global tariffs are legal. They are illegal. They're arguing they're legal. It's hard to imagine a worse morning after for Donald Trump and Republicans than to have to go to the Supreme Court and defend these tariffs, which are dramatically raising Americans' costs. And that's why Republicans were so shellacked last night. And it led, and maybe the Supreme Court, actually, maybe the Supreme Court will put Donald Trump and Republicans out of their tariff misery by declaring Trump's tariffs illegal, which of course we know they are. Because Donald Trump's tariffs have been one of the biggest tax hikes on American families in recent memory. Poll after poll shows that Americans are paying more at the grocery store. That they blame Trump for the rising prices, and they disapprove of his tariffs. The Supreme Court should do the right thing and strike down Trump's tariffs before those tariffs spiral our economy into even a bigger crisis. And if our democracy is to mean anything at all, we should remember the Constitution is clear as a bell, clear as a Liberty Bell. The power to tax and tariff resides in Congress, not the president, not by unilateral power, not based on some BS emergency declaration. Donald Trump is not a king. He's bound by the Constitution and by his oath to protect the American people and uphold the rule of law. Today, the court should make clear that Donald Trump is not above the law. I yield the floor.
And that was Senate Leader Chuck Schumer talking right now. We are going to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be back in 2. Back out here now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We have had a busy morning here on Live Impact News. We're going to take you back out to the Senate floor as the session is, as it is in session, and we'll listen in here on Live Impact News.
To come here with a promise of free health care, with a promise of free airplane tickets, with a promise of free hotel rooms and free food and free meals and free cell phones. Mr. President, that era is over. President Trump is successfully removing illegal immigrant criminals from our nation, taking them away from communities all across the country. Republicans in Congress are finishing the wall, hiring more border agents, and investing in immigration and customs enforcement. The drug cartels are clearly on notice, Mr. President. The border is closed, and America is once again protecting our citizens. Today, our communities are safer, and the economic turnaround has been equally dramatic. America's energy dominance is back. Gas prices have dropped to the lowest point in 4 years. AAA reports prices are expected to continue to fall and perhaps stay low over the busy Thanksgiving period that's upcoming. Inflation has cooled. Things are more affordable. Remember, under Joe Biden, prices soared by more than 21%. Under President Trump, private sector real wages are up over $1,100 a year. The economy grew 3.8% in the second quarter of this year. We're seeing strong economic growth, and more strong economic growth is expected. The Atlanta Federal Reserve predicts third quarter growth could be 4%, even greater economic growth. You might ask yourself, what is at the heart of this economic comeback? Well, let me tell you. The working family tax cuts, which passed the Senate, passed the House, signed into law by the President, that's at the heart of our economic comeback. This is the most pro-worker, pro-family tax relief in years. In Wyoming alone, families could save $2,400 this year because of the tax cuts. Waiters, barbers, bartenders keep $1,300 more by having to pay no tax on tips. In my home state and in yours, Mr. President, nurses, firefighters, and police officers can keep $1,400 more by having to pay no tax on overtime. New parents get a $1,000 Trump account for every newborn child to invest in their future. And parents get a bigger child tax credit, $2,200 more per child. Seniors are going to keep more as well. There's a new $6,000 deduction on Social Security income. Mr. President, clearly you've heard it, and I've heard it at home as well. Farmers, ranchers, and small business owners getting the relief from the much-dreaded death tax. That's what it means to stand with working Americans. Let's be clear. If the Democrats had had it their way, families would be paying much more in taxes, a lot more. Every single Democrat voted for the largest tax increase in American history. Every single Democrat voted for a $4 trillion tax increase. Had Democrats succeeded, families, seniors, and small businesses would have been financially crushed. Every Democrat voted for the government to take more of people's hard-earned money. Republicans said people should keep their hard-earned money. Republicans voted for Americans to keep what they earn. That's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. So 1 year ago, American voters rejected a weak America and also rejected a dangerous world. Today, we see the resurgence of American strength. We are defending our interests and deterring our enemies around the world. Military recruitment has surged to its highest level in 15 years. Morale is high. Deterrence is back. President Trump successfully crippled Iran's nuclear program. He strengthened the success of the Abrams Accord. He secured the release of the hostages in Gaza. He ended wars around the world not once, not twice, but 8 times. President Trump is the president of peace, and he's achieving this peace through American strength and leadership. Look, these are the policies that the Americans want, need, and voted for when they elected President Trump President of the United States once again. Regrettably, Senate Democrats still can't bring themselves to support the success. They voted against securing the border, against lowering taxes, against strengthening Medicaid, and against everything that helps working families. Here in the Senate, for months, they've delayed hundreds of routine and bipartisan nominees. It was an unprecedented blockade. Now Democrats have set a new, shameful record. Today, they broke the record for the longest government shutdown in American history. Let me repeat that. Today, the Democrats have broken the record for the longest shutdown in American history. During the 36 days of the Schumer shutdown, Democrats have voted against reopening the government 14 times. That's 14 votes against paying our troops, 14 votes against paying our federal workers, 14 votes against paying our air traffic controllers, 14 times against Border Patrol agents, and 14 times against paying our TSA agents. The Democrat Party has been hijacked by socialists, and now they're holding the American people hostage. Why? Well, it's because the Democrats have become radical and extreme. Gallup pollsters tell us that only 1 in 3 Democrats are proud to be an American. Can you imagine that? Only 1 in 3 registered Democrats proud to be an American. It's half the number it was last year. The party of JFK is gone, and it is now the party of AOC. Democrats are now the party of socialism and censorship, of weakness and wokeness. They tend to even brag about it, as we saw last night in New York. Yesterday in New York City, they elected as mayor a socialist who wants to defund the police, abolish prisons, and give illegal immigrants free health care. That's who the Democrats have chosen as the mayor of New York City. That's the Democrats' vision of America's future. It's a dangerous vision. It's a destructive vision. 1 year ago, Americans chose a better path. They chose safety, prosperity, and common sense. As a result, today, America is moving in the right direction, and we're going to continue to fight to get America back on track. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
And that is the Senate session happening live right now out of Washington, D.C. I'll tell you what, as we are talking about the shutdown, earlier I was playing the playback of Mark Henry, financial expert from Alloy Wealth, on the shutdown, what it's going to do for your day-to-day, especially those impacted workers, and some practical advice for anyone who is working and what you can do to avoid being caught in a financial strain. Let's go ahead and continue this playback on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Today marking now the 24th day of the federal government shutdown, leaving hundreds of thousands of federal workers without paychecks. They're scrambling, trying to make ends meet. For many families, that financial strain is real. Those mounting bills are coming due, and savings are dwindling. So joining us here live in the Live Impact studio on WCNC+, Mark Henry with Alloy Wealth Management to discuss what affected workers can do right now. Mark, thank you again for coming in on short notice here, but this is a huge story, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Give us the latest on where things stand now with the shutdown and what federal workers are facing.
Well, unfortunately, the shutdown's definitely going to extend to next week. It's going to go at least that long. The Senate's already left town. They're home.
Right, right.
So that's not happening. You know, it was close yesterday. It looked like they had an attempt to try to get federal workers paid, and Democrats blocked it. 3 crossed the aisle to help join the proposal to start getting paychecks flowing to federal workers that do come in. But 3 wasn't enough.
They needed 6, yes.
Right, they needed 6. But it got closer.
Right,
so that is the good news. Let's go with good news.
Sure.
We needed a few more, but it got close. So that would have ensured that federal workers continue to get the work through the shutdown, keep receiving a paycheck. So bottom line is we've got a problem, and there's a lot of these workers that are really hurting right now.
Yeah. When that first paycheck doesn't arrive, definitely scary. Now we're into 4 weeks of it not happening. And now people are worried about things like their credit scores, in addition
They
to
should.
actually paying their bills. They should worry.
Right, they should. And so we have to take proactive, we have to, not reactive, proactive.
Proactive.
It's time, if your emergency fund, and that's what you have it for, if you have one, this is when you use it. Let's not get behind on the bills. Now, if you don't have one, and again, one said that they would have trouble, 37% said they would have trouble covering a $400 emergency. That's like, this is bad. So
Wow.
we have to really go, what are we going to do? Okay, so if that is you, all right, we're in a place we don't want to be. We're not getting a paycheck, no fault of yours, but it's time to do something about it. We got to pick up the phone. So there are programs of
All right, if you want to watch the rest of this interview, if you missed it a week or so ago with Mark Henry, this can be found on our website or the app, WCNC plus WCNC.com. We're going to leave you with a live picture right now because we are awaiting a live press conference happening at 11 o'clock with City Council member Malcolm Graham to talk about the elections as well. They're in Uptown Charlotte. This is a live picture. We leave you with this. This is going to be continuing on our WCNC app as well as Charlotte Today coming up at 11. Have a great day.
This is what you're telling me to do, but they're like $1. I have to get a new pair. That's what I'm saying. We did all the work. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How y'all doing? All right. These chairs are low, or I'm getting bigger. So this is really informal, right? But I'm glad that so many people have come to listen to me this morning. And for the newcomers, I generally do this every 60, 70 days. It's just an informal way for me to communicate to the media and the public what's on my mind when I'm working. Be open and transparent to everyone in the media about asking me any questions that you want. I'm an open book today, no filters at all. And so I'll make a couple of opening statements and then answer any question you want. We can talk Panthers, Batesford Road, Quarters Opportunity, Johnson C. Smith, 8 and 1, or even transit, right? So there was a thing last night called an election. And I am so proud and honored to once again have the opportunity to been elected by the people of District 2 to the Charlotte City Council. I had this unique experience this time around where I had no opposition, not only in the primary election, but the general election. Only the second time in my long political career that has happened to me. And it's a mixed blessing. It's a blessing that I didn't have to do a whole lot of work and campaigning and fundraising. But I also like to get out and talking to the community and tell people what I've done and what I want to do and hear from them in terms of their evaluation of me. Elections are really about an evaluation, right? And you're asking people for more support. And so the fact that I didn't have any opposition this time around made it a little bit unique for me, but I still engaged the community by going to a wide variety of public forums, debates of other candidates, reading articles in the paper about the campaign, just kind of staying engaged that way. And so I'm glad to have survived it, have a write-in candidate, but we won with like 93% of the vote, something like that yesterday. So I'm really excited. And my career in Charlotte has been long. My first run for city council was in '95, where I got my ass whipped by Nassif Majid. And 4 years later, I ran again against Mr. Majid and won. And after my first term, he ran against me, and I think we won that time with about 84% of the vote. 10 years in the North Carolina State Senate, representing Davidson, Huntersville, and Cornelius, as well as North Charlotte, University City. 4 years away, well, I ran for Congress and lost that one too. Lost my sister in 2015, took 4 years away from public life, kind of focus on family and issues relating to the Charleston shooting and helping the governor of South Carolina bring down the Confederate flag, establishing a foundation for my sister. Went all over the country talking about gun legislation and gun reform for our community, and got a call from the mayor asking me to consider coming back in 2019, and I did, and so here I stand today. And so I'm appreciative to the voters for sending me back to work, and I do consider this a job. And there's a lot of work to do in Charlotte, so I'm up for the challenge to do that. I want to congratulate the mayor and the city council for her historic election last night as well, 10 years in the job. All the incumbents that won at large, my colleagues are returning, and also wanted to really kind of welcome Ms. Mayo in District 3, someone I've known for the last 5 years, kind of mentored, worked with her behind the scenes, encouraged her to run. So I'm glad that she will be joining me at the dais. Had a great lunch last week with JD from District 5, and I look forward to working with him. And boy, last night was a surprise in District 6, right? I didn't call that at all. I thought that Ms. Bakari would be joining us in December, but you know, strange things happen during the election season, and I think that's attributed to the aura behind her name, and really the success Democrats had all over the country yesterday. Governor's race, legislative race, local race, mayors, New York, Detroit, here in Charlotte, and I think that trickled down to District 6. And so I welcome Ms. Lewis to join our council. We'll have 10-1 Democrats, but obviously the goal at the local election is there's no Democratic way to pick up the trash. There's no Republican way to do economic development. All these are local community issues, and so hopefully the council will work together and under the leadership of the mayor to be as boring as possible for the next 2 years, and just do the work of the people and be open and honest and transparent to create some very large hurdles that I think the community has to tackle over the next 2 years. What's important to me over the next 2 years is certainly a laser focus on public safety. It goes without saying that that is and should be and continues to be the city's and my priority. And let me take a step backwards. I'm speaking for Malcolm Graham, not the mayor, not the city council. These are my thoughts, my opinions, my perspectives. But I think public safety for me has to be the #1 issue. The proliferation of guns in our community is just astounding. Every time there's an incident, you know there's a gun involved. And so I hope to spend the next 2 years really advocating for common sense gun legislation with my legislators in Raleigh, which is going to be a tough uphill battle for sure. But I hope to use the 10 years of experience I've had being in the General Assembly, working with Senator Berger, outreaching to family members about really making a big effort about gun legislation. It's not a local issue. We need help from the state to do that, and I think it's going to be critically important for me. Uptown's a part of District 2. We continue to have take 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards in terms of crime in Uptown Charlotte, and so that's going to be a focal point for me as well. especially around some of the clubs and bars in Uptown that continues to be troublesome to neighbors and visitors to our community. Uptown Charlotte is the regional living room for our community. Millions of public investment in Uptown Charlotte, whether it's investment at the arena or investment at Bank of America Stadium, investment in corporate relocations and retentions, right? It's everything, the arts revolves in Uptown Charlotte, and Uptown Charlotte has to be not perceived as safe, has to be safe because people from all over the region come to Charlotte to work, play, live in our Uptown community, and so that's really, really important to me. Focus on small business. This will be another priority for me and minority-owned business. Obviously, a lot of issues coming from Washington, D.C. and Raleigh in reference to minority-owned firms, but my commitment is still strong to ensure that Charlotte is diverse and open for everyone that wants to do business with us. We should. Again, we're working with the small business community really to highlight what we're doing here in Charlotte. I mean, these guys hire more people than all the banks combined. And so I think hopefully the mayor will reappoint me to chair the city's Jobs and Economic Development Committee, which will oversee small businesses in the community. And it's something that I'm really, really interested in doing. Quarters of opportunities goes without saying, Beatties Ford Road, West End, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Working with the county, I have my good friend Commissioner Jarrell, and who's chairing the board over there now, and Mike Bryant. I think we have a unique opportunity to do more city-county collaboration, more than we have ever done before. And it is critical as the city and the county both are growing, both represent many of the same constituents, that we certainly get on the same page on a wide variety of issues. Going back to public safety, a lot of the issues dealing with the unhoused, homelessness, substance abuse are really in the domain of Mecklenburg County, but we have to be at the table as well. And so I just look forward to working with Mark and the County Commission themselves, the new chairman, and manager over there as well, to really be tied in a closely knit way, the city and the county really working together. So that's really important. Housing is going to be certainly important. Affordability of housing throughout the community. The city, again, we just did really two neat housing trust projects that we funded. Both in District 2 were transitional housing, which kind of goes to some of those issues that we're trying to solve in the community in terms of as we begin to identify individuals that need help. And in some cases where we have to run people away from corners and communities who need help, we have to be able to run them to services. And so the transitional housing that we just supported about a week ago in District 2 is really, really important to me. And then transportation. And let me back up. The budget. Next year's budget season is going to be really, really interesting. I'm not sure whether or not we're going to maintain no taxes for next year. I'm just being quite honest. It's going to be really, really challenging. So we'll be working with the city manager probably right after we get sworn in and going into January for the budget season. And we're going to have to dot I's and cross T's in terms of the city's budget moving forward. And the last but certainly not least is transportation. It's going to be huge for this community. And last night was a very historic step in the life of this region. Short of consolidation, political consolidation with the voters approved last night, sets this community up to address major issues that we have dealing with. How do we handle 159 individuals every day moving to the city of Charlotte, all looking for good, clean, affordable housing, all looking for jobs, and all looking for reliable public transportation to get back and forth between all of them. And so last night's vote, 52-48%, gives us a unique opportunity to make generational change for this community and this region in terms of building a bus system that really, really works for everyone. More shelters, shorter wait times for buses. When I was a student at Johnson C. Smith, I had to wait 2 hours literally to kind of go to the bus. Woke up at 5 o'clock to catch a bus at 7 o'clock to be to work at 9 o'clock. And that hadn't changed. And so hopefully this will give us an opportunity to take a new look at routes and fares and shelters, because that's where most of the riders utilize the bus systems, and that's the thing that I think that voters can see sooner than later in terms of an improvement in bus services and bus amenities. Certainly roads, road monies for all of the small towns in the city of Charlotte as well, to really begin to connect communities together and to be able to relieve pressure. People live in Charlotte, but they work in Huntersville. They work in Huntersville, but they live in Charlotte. They use these systems every day, and having a system that connects and works together, and having each and every community have the opportunity to have resources to expand the existing road system is really, really great. And then lastly, the transit system. We've seen what the Blue Line has done in terms of providing safe, affordable transportation, but also as an economic development tool. I think that some of the things can happen as well by expanding the transit system, both in terms of the ridership and the connectivity to the airport, as well as an expanded streetcar from Beatty'sford Road, from French Street to Rosa Park, and then from Elizabeth all the way to Eastland Yards. It's really exciting and transformational, right? But for the vote of the people last night, those things could not occur. Many of those things will probably go beyond, sorry, that's fine. Many of those things probably will go beyond my lifetime, right? So these are investments that we're making for my grandchildren and others' grandkids, right? For future generations of Charlotteans to be able to move around this region as the fastest growing city in the country right now, the 13th largest city in the country, and even growing more and more and more. And so that's really important. But where the devil is the details. And so today, the details start with the naming of those individuals, men and women, who will serve on the authority. And obviously the city council and I, Malcolm, have a responsibility for identifying individuals to serve on the transportation authority, which is going to be huge. A lot of the things that I would like to see happen with the authority does not reside moving forward with the Charlotte City Council. It's now in the hands of an authority, and so it's really critical and important that members that we support understand that the end is in the beginning, and that basically what we're doing is basically creating a startup, right? A startup company, right? This Metropolitan Transportation Authority. And so these are things that are important to me as I begin to evaluate the applications. And I've already started that process. I added one more based on last night, results that I think are really important for individuals that I'm looking for. One, individuals that will protect the interests of the voters. While it won last night, 48% of the voters voted no. And I think we need to understand that right from the very beginning, based on that 48% number, that we have to build public confidence in everything that we do moving forward with the authority and these transportation funds to ensure people, those who said we understand that Charlotte and the region needs to grow, but I simply cannot support it, that we have to gain their confidence as well. The plan itself is not perfect, and I've said that on the many occasions throughout the last several weeks. And although I was a yes, I was a yes, but yes, we have to do a number of other things to ensure that everyone gets on the train at the same time going to their destination. So the first thing that's important for me, for any candidate, my filter is that they have to protect the interests of the city of Charlotte. And while this is a regional board, obviously the appointments that we're making are appointments that are from the Charlotte City Council, so that's really important to me, someone that clearly understands who we are, our plans, our goals, our objectives, from our planning goals, our UDO, our housing goals, someone who will sit there and understand those things and protect our interests on a member board that's 27, which is huge, right? So I think that's important. I think it's also important for that individual to respect and understand the riders, right? 85% of the riders are individuals from Black and brown communities, and so I want someone who will represent the interests of the riders that sits on the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, that understand where they're coming from, understand their communities, understanding that, you know, again, while train is fancy, rail is fancy, roads is like kind of boring, but the bus system itself is what gets people to and from work. And so understanding who the riders are and what their concerns are. 3 is someone who's able to lead on day one. All right, so I'm not looking for any individuals who just want to have their name on the letterhead. I want individuals who can roll up their sleeve, want to go and do the work, that can have the ability to chair a major committee of the authority, that can even chair the authority themselves, serve as a vice chairman of the authority, people who are ready and willing to lead and come in the door on day one ready to lead. 4th, individuals who have the time to do the work, right? You got to show up, right? You got to show up and do the work. And it's hard work. And working with a board of 27 is going to be extremely difficult, right? And so you have to be present. Do you have the time commitment to do the job? I think that's really, really important to me, and those are questions I will be asking. Do you have a commitment to establishing a displacement policy within the authority? The displacement of not only communities like along the West Boulevard corridor, but the displacement of businesses. For an example, I love Central Avenue. I think Central Avenue is uniquely different, the lower end. I love being able to drive down Central Avenue and have problems pronouncing the names of their restaurant, right? I love to see the different shades of different of the people on Central Avenue. I love the small businesses on Central Avenue. But when we build that streetcar, many of those businesses will be closed from 9 months to probably 18 months. So what happens to the people that work there? Can that business owner pay the lease when people cannot get to their place of business, right? And so we have to take all that into consideration, and that's why whether it's Central Avenue or Beatty'sford Road or West Boulevard or whatever, whether it's small businesses or communities that fear of being displaced, that the authority itself needs to have a policy in place that addresses that and funds it, which is really important, right? I mean, and so that's going to be really critical for me when I talk to individuals about that. I think also what is also critical for me is individuals who have a commitment to the utilization of small businesses with the outreach to the minority business community. Now, until someone tells us we can't do business with minority firms, we're going to continue to do business with minority firms, right? Because diversity is our greatest strength as a city and as a region, and if we're going to spend $20 billion over the next 30 years, everybody needs to get their fair share of the pie. Those individuals who own and operate within the construction industry should help build these roads and these highways. Those individuals who provide professional services like architectural firms or designers or landscapers, whoever, lawyers, right? They should be a part of helping create this new regional transportation network, right? Everyone has to be involved in it, and so I'm looking for board members that can check that box. And you know, there's going to be a leadership who's going to lead the authority in terms of the general manager or the president. Should there be a national search? for the leadership? I tend to think so, right? Simply because if we're going to do this startup, we need to have the best possible individuals to take a look at what we're doing. And that might be right here in the building. I'm not sure, but we should cast a net far and wide to identify the best staff that we can get to lead us in the right direction. So those are things that are important to Malcolm Graham. And I hope that they will be also important to my colleagues as we begin to cipher through over 130, 40 applications within the next couple of days, really. And so that process probably begins today. I know Councilmember Mitchell, I spoke with them last night, and you know, he's working with us to lead the way, and his eyes is probably redder than mine going through all the applications. But those are, again, my filter. And I think that if we use that as a guide, that we can produce individuals, men and women, black and white and brown, who are capable, ready, understand the changing nature of this region, and is willing to step forward in doing some of the work. So that's going to be huge starting today for this community, and I'm going to be a part of helping shape that. Even when the authority is seated, I think from my perspective, members will be council members. Malcolm will be a lot more hands-on than any other appointed positions that we give away, right? Because it's just so important to the individuals that we represent here in the city of Charlotte. Keeping on a transportation note, there's a public meeting for Wednesday, November 12th for the I-77 South Express Lane project. That's going to get a lot of public attention over the next couple of weeks. It's planned to cut through some of Charlotte's most historic African-American communities, historic West End, Biddleville, Oaklawn Park, Macquarie Heights, Delbrook, parts of Wesley Heights, and Seversville. Now that's catching a lot of people off guard. A lot of people are just kind of finding out how the designs, me too, for sure. And at first glance and review, obviously I will be at both public hearings. There's one Wednesday, November 12th at Johnson C. Smith University. The other is Thursday, November 13th at Silver Mount Baptist Church. I'm encouraging everybody to come out and to attend so we could make factual decisions, not emotional decisions about what's about to occur or if we can even stop it. But certainly as a member of council who represents most, if not all, of these communities, I'm very concerned that we don't repeat past mistakes where we, in the name of progress, that we undermine, shortchange black communities in Charlotte. That we cannot have that happen again. History has repeats itself from time to time, and that's a part of Charlotte's history that we should not or cannot repeat. And so I'm just encouraging everyone, all the citizens and you guys to kind of take a look at that and making sure that we're keeping everybody honest and that we're communicating and educating along the way. And I think those two meetings next week are going to be critically important. Real quickly, we talked a little bit about public safety and Uptown and welcoming our new Police Chief Patterson. I'm looking forward to working with her. That's going to be, it's a fresh start. You know, when you can get the city, the Fraternal Order of Police, the City Council, and the community all on the same page about one individual, about an issue in Charlotte that has been really, really troublesome over the last several months. I think it's a good start, right? And so I'm excited to work with her. I will give her all the resources that she needs to be successful. I like that she wants to fill those vacant positions. I applaud her for that. I like the fact that she wants to work with our youth. I think it's really important. Many of the crimes, again, are youth related, or youth end up being victims, right? Like the young lady from West Charlotte who lost her life going to a Halloween party, 17 years old, or just random violence. So I like that idea. So I want to support her, and hopefully she would take a walk with me on Beatties Ford Road down Catherine Simmons, and where there's hot spots throughout that community, as well as a number of other corridors of opportunities. So looking forward to working with her. You guys know that we just did some investment on the historic Excelsiors Club, and in 2026 I hope to work with the council on bringing a major development at the 5 Point Corner, which is a Weaver Market and apartments right at the intersection of near Johnson C. Smith University. I think we're really, really close to being able to talk about it more specifically publicly, but that's one of the things that really, when I decided whether or not I wanted to come back to City Council, I wanted to come back to get that done. I think that would really reshape that intersection where the Pocket Park is. They've already torn down the Church's Chicken. We're ready for that development to occur. Johnson C. Smith University themselves are looking at doing some additional development on land that they own. They'll probably have more land in that proximity than anyone else, right? That needs to be developed from their perspective as well as mine. The streetcar's already there for them to wrap development around it. And so I'm really excited about the lower end of the 5 Point going into the historic Excelsior Club and going further up Beatties Ford Road to the corner of Beatties Ford Road and the South Street, right? So a lot is happening there. It's taking some time, but I'm excited about the forward momentum that we're achieving there. Again, it's a scenario where we take 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards, dealing with some of the criminal elements. Some of it is behavior in nature relating to unhoused mental illness and substance abuse, and that's why that working relationship with the county is so important to be able to address those issues. That's why investing in the transitional housing through the Housing Trust Fund is so important to be able to house individuals. And so it's a whole of government approach. I look forward to that. And then lastly, then I'll be quiet and let you guys ask some questions. There's a tennis tournament coming in December. Surprise, surprise, Malcolm's talking about tennis. So excited for the Charlotte Invitational coming in December. Venus Williams, Taylor Fritz, T.I. Full is coming back, as well as Madison Keys, who just injured at the year-end championship yesterday. So hopefully she'll recover in time to make it to Charlotte. Last year was a phenomenal success. This year we expect that success to be equal to last year. We had a great meeting, I guess 6 weeks ago, with a number of community partners about building a tennis facility. So we're not, yet another reason why I came back, right? I think we're really, really close. I think it's one of those things. I've been to New York at the U.S. Open and talking to a lot of Ben Navarro. We kept in contact with other individuals within the tennis community. It's one of those scenarios. If we build it, they will come. And what Charlotte is lacking is a facility. And so the Charlotte Invitational has demonstrated that there's an appetite in this region for big-time tennis. When you get an exhibition and you draw 16,000, that's saying a whole lot. And so, again, part of the reason why I came back to the Charlotte City Council is I think we're really, really close to getting that done. So we're working with the management team. Don't want to get too far ahead of them. But again, the tournament, the exhibition in December is yet another example of that. The Panthers, the NFL owners said yes, let's build and renovate Bank of America Stadium, and And so I think last week the Panthers sent out an announcement in reference to that. I just want to highlight one individual, one company that's involved in that. That's Donovan Everett and Everett Construction Company. They just completed the work at Spectrum Center. They're now working as a partner on the Bank of America Stadium. It's a firm that just happens to be minority, right? That's who he is. But the quality of his work, his commitment to building a better Charlotte, the Panthers' commitment to ensure that there's diverse participation in what they're doing, all of it makes sense to me. So I'm really, really excited about that all the I's has been dotted and the T's crossed, that we're going to begin to build a facility. Hopefully within the next 6 weeks, we'll be at Eastland Yards breaking ground for the amateur sports facility over there right around the first of the year. It's time to move some dirt over there. The county just had their ground breaking for the park. I think we will be ready to announce in short order something in terms of the amateur sports facility. Again, sports and entertainment continues to be a driving factor for the city of Charlotte, and I just want to lean into that more. You know, we got a MSL team that is in the playoff, and the Panthers are 5-4 in second place. You know, and beat my Packers. I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. After I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, but my father had a friend that played for the Packers. So I've been a Packer fan for generations. But they beat the Packers, and so when those things occur, the Hornets are off to a good start too, right? But when those things occur, it really is more about, for me, not the teams themselves, but the people we're able to support because the teams are here, which is the waiters and waitresses and the Uber drivers and the small business owners and the restaurant owners and the hotels, all kind of feed from those events at the facilities. And so I'm just excited that they're winning, because when they're winning, that means more games and more people are coming and more tax dollars in the coffers. And that's why we got to make sure that Uptown Charlotte is safe, so people can continue to come in droves, and that's what we want. And then lastly but not least, there's a small team that's doing big things in Charlotte that's called Johnson C. Smith University. They are 8-1. They play Saturday Livingstone College. Those two colleges were the first historically black college and universities to play a football game. And if Smith wins on Saturday, they'll be 9-1 and will make their first trip to the CIAA championship game since the 60s.
1969.
Since 69, right? So let's hope Smith wins, right? So they're 9-1, 8-1 now. They're ranked number 14th in the country in Division II. Coach Maurice Flowers is doing a tremendous job over there. He played for Smith. This week I had the opportunity with two of my friends to present 85 suits to the Johnson C. Smith University players. We're going to establish a men's clothing pantry on campus, and we work with a guy by the name of Troy Allen Clothiers, and we presented those guys traveling suits. So hopefully when they go to Durham for the CIAA championship game, they can wear those suits. But more importantly, we want those gentlemen to look good, not only on the field, but when they're walking to class, or when they're going to an away game, or where they're going on a date, right? I worked in men's clothing. I'm thinking a lot of you guys know that, right? At Eastland Mall, Wilson's Menswear, Webster's Menswear. Joe know what I'm talking about, right? The young guy, right? The older guy, he knows, right? Wilson's, Webster's, the Hub, right? Right, the Hub. Remember that? At Eastland Mall, and so we're going to establish a pantry. A lot of these guys in this community have old suits that, like me, they can't wear anymore because the suit's gotten too small, right? I've gotten too big, one of the two. And so we started that this week with the team, and we just wish them well. Pause at this point and Answer any question that you have.
Malcolm, I'm curious about it. You went through a lot there, but with the transit piece, two things. One is, I'm wondering what your perspective is on the complaints you heard about there's too much business / Republican leadership in Raleigh influence on who's going to serve on this authority. And secondly, combining uptown safety, the tragedy in August, how soon do you think there will be a transit dedicated police unit?
So first question first. Listen, there's the policy of transit and then there's the politics of transit, right? And I think the politics dictated that this blue city had to convince a red General Assembly to put something on the ballot for us to advance our transportation future. There were compromises made. People tend to do business with people that they know. And so Malcolm Graham going up there as a Democrat, trying to convince a room full of Republicans that this is something that they should do, they will listen and they will be polite. But if you have someone that they know making that request, the response may be different, and it was. Is the legislation perfect? No. Would I love to see a displacement in the legislation itself? Yes. But that's what we got. That's why the authority is really so important. They only have 2 seats, 2 appointments, the Speaker Pro Tem, as well as the Speaker of the House. The governor makes an appointment as well. The vast majority of the appointments come from the city of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. And so we need to, that's why I painfully and slowly tick through those things that were important to me, because it's the majority rules, right, on the authority. Now, I wouldn't have had an authority with 27 members because I think we all know that 10 people, an executive committee, will be leading the way and bringing 17 others along. And that's why it's really so important that we have individuals ready to lead on day one, that can chair a committee on day one, that can influence policy on day one, that's reflective of the values and the concerns of the people of Charlotte and the region. And so I want to make sure that the authority, whatever its makeup is taking their lead and their direction from the people who voted. And those the people of Charlotte and Matthews and Huntersville and Davison. And the leadership of the authority should reflect that in terms of this chairman and this vice chairman. Oh, the second question was uptown?
Oh, the police, the transit dedicated police, how long do you think it takes?
Well, again, that's an authority related question, right? And so, you know, the first, we're not going to build a train set tomorrow, right? We're not going to build a train tomorrow, or we're not going to pave a new road tomorrow. Over the next year, 6 months to a year, is foundation building, right? How do you build a foundation that the authority will stand on? Its bylaws, its membership, its leadership, its commitment, its policy, its goals, its objectives. Those are the things that are really important to me right now. And that's where the devil lives, in the details, right? And so I think, you know, again, as much or as little influence as I will have, and emphasis probably on little, is making sure we get the right people on the board that can take that message and understands that the direction is from Charlotte and the region, and issues like the police force, displacement, funding for displacement, bylaws, who serves, I think it's going to be staggered terms, right? Who serves 4 years first, who serves 2 years first. All those things are basic foundational building stuff. That should be the focus and not the money piling up.
I want to also talk about transit. So circling back to the sales tax increase that passed, you touched a little bit on how we should be funding, communities that are displaced, businesses that are displaced from the construction, which is a big concern. Another big concern people that were opposed to this had was how it's going to impact low-income communities. This inflation is just skyrocketing. Everything's more expensive. This is just another tax increase that these people are going to have to pay. What is your response to that?
Yeah, affordability in Charlotte, just like throughout the country, is it's crazy, right? I have a daughter that lives in Fort Lauderdale, basketball coach, paying $2,000 rent. Right, it's that's Charlotte, that's Fort Lauderdale, that's Austin, Texas, Nashville, Atlanta. So, but here in Charlotte, right? I think part of helping individuals help themselves is making sure they have a convenient and easy way to get to work, and then while we're building this transit system, we continue to do the other things that the city does pretty well, right? A continual investment in affordable housing, a continual investment in workforce development, a continual investment in nonprofit organizations to help people help themselves, right? And so it can't be just one thing. It has to be a wide variety of things that we're doing to help on the affordability front. Mostly jobs, right? People gotta have, and they have to have more than a living wage. Everything is going up except people's salaries, right? And so there has to be a way where we communicate to our corporate partners to follow what the city of Charlotte has done. Our lowest paid wage earners about $50,000 a year, still not enough, right? But certainly we understand that at $25, $26 an hour salary will make someone at least be able to hold their own, right? And there's no magic wand that the city or the county or others can do other than work with our business community and ensure that they're paying people an honest day pay for honest day work, and that we have all the other supportive services that we fund to ensure that there's relief. Down payment assistance in Charlotte for a house now, for our House Charlotte program, it's like $80,000. Right, so there are things that we're doing to try to reduce the level of discomfort, but I wish I had the answer to that question in a very specific type of way, other than the fact that we will continue to lead in and provide services where we can.
Do you think investing in transit now is going to save people money in the long term?
I think investing in transit now means that we won't be, your children, my grandchildren, won't be saying, what are they thinking about in 2025 when they didn't invest in our future? And part of investing in the future is ensuring that, unlike me, who waited 20 years now, right? 30 years. Like I said, it took me 2 hours to catch the bus, prep time to get to work on time. And that's one way. So I had to come back home, right? And people are still experiencing that. And so if we can have a better bus system that cuts wait times, more frequency, gets people back home to their families, and that increases a quality of life that I don't think you can put a price on.
Could we stay on that for a second? I'm curious about what you think the authorities' role should be in avoiding displacement. Like, should they be taking on some land banking, or is that more of a city thing? Have you heard any ideas from applicants of how they would want to?
No, we haven't interviewed them yet, the applicants yet. I want the authority members to be out-of-the-box thinkers, right? There will be impact along the way, right? And so I think right from the very start, if they can acknowledge that, learn from other communities that have already done this, right? So this is not something that's new. Austin, Texas has done this. I think Denver's far advanced than we are. Learn from other communities. We know displacement is going to be an issue. I give a perfect example of what's going to happen on Central Avenue, right? Because literally the streetcar's going right down the middle of the street. You won't be able to get to those businesses, right? Who's going to take care of that business owner based on the impact? How can he stay in business? The last thing that I would want is for Central Avenue to lose its charm because the businesses could not afford to return after they were closed for 8 months to a year, or the owner of the building said, you know what, I'll just sell it out to a large developer, and now you have all these sky rises up and down. Charlotte needs to have unique destination, unique places. Everything can't be brand new, and that's why I love NODA, because NODA got a little bit of old and new, and Central Avenue kind of reflects that as well. And so I would love to keep that charm, and I think the city, the region, the authority is going to have a cause and impact that they should kind of figure out a way to make people whole along the way.
Well, the red line has to be, we probably can't start at like the gold line or the silver line until at least
50%.
That's going to be at 15 years at the least. So that's a long time for people to advocate for different things. I feel like I'm hearing more opposition for the gold line and a lot of support for a silver line extension. Do you think that you could see a world where over 15 years those two get, one gets cut, one gets funded or flipped? Or
And that's why 48% of people voted no.
yeah.
Right, because there has to be trust. And while you can't predict the future, there has to be a commitment to East Charlotte and West Charlotte that whether it's 10, 15 years, we're going to invest in that community because I believe it's not only a transit investment, but it's an economic development investment, right? And so they got to figure it out, and that's why it's really important that we give new voices on the board, younger voices on the board that can kind of have long memories, and that right from the very beginning there's trust. Because again, 48% of the people said no for some of the same reasons that you articulated. I'm just not sure they're going to keep their word. And so I won't be around then, but hopefully a new generation of leaders will understand what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, changing Beatties Ford Road is hard, right? It's been decades of lack of investment, right? And I think that bill is coming due because those communities are old, and they're certainly not old by repeating the past through a road project expansion that may cost them more of their lands. They've been through that before.
Do you know where the red line's going to end?
I don't know.
It's hard because like Iredell County, like have you heard from Iredell County? And then the law literally says it can't end in Davidson unless Davidson says sure.
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know, right? I don't know.
Is it an MPTA problem?
It's everybody's problem, right? Because again, part of this thing is not how do we connect within the county, but how do we connect outside the county as well, right? Because Rock Hill, York County, I mean, so we're all in this together. We're all one big region, and there has to be a way that we work together. My hope and my goal is that they will kind of see the light and they will say, hey, how can we get into this? York County, how can we get into this? Because it's a region, right? And I think the airport is a perfect example where it services individuals, communities outside of Mecklenburg County, right? It's 16 regions around it, and I think 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we're not going to be talking about Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. We're going to be talking about the region. Even that number we talk about, 157, is a regional number, right? Everybody, folks are moving in Concord and York Hill and Lancaster, right? And they're all mixing together, and they all come into a Panthers game, and the road network or the transit network should support all of that. And so hopefully this board would be sophisticated enough that they will understand that they have to not only look inward, Charlotte, Mecklenburg, but also be able to navigate outward to surrounding counties and communities. So I don't know the answer to your question.
Let me ask you about tennis, because that was newsworthy too, newsy. Yeah. Do you know, can you name any potential locations the stadium would go? And are we looking at another hospitality tax project?
Well, you know, the River District is nice, right? And it's centrally located to the international airport. Tennis is an international sport. right? So that's one location that we're definitely looking at again. And obviously, you know, that's what the fund is for, travel and tourism. And again, it's really not about the tennis, although the tennis is going to be fun and exciting. It's probably the only major sport that we don't have in Charlotte. But it's about the economic impact of it and the people that it will support. And if we can create yet another destination location for sports and entertainment outside of uptown, in an area that's growing and maturing like the River District, it will be fun and exciting.
When should we expect more on that? Do you think that's a next year problem?
I think it's something that I'll be talking about Lyle and Claire at the retreat probably in January. Like, hey, you know, there's a couple of reasons why I came back to City Council, right? One was that Batesford Road and the tennis thing, right? I don't like to lose. Especially at tennis.
I imagine like it's not just tennis. Like Ben has like concerts in the tennis facility, and like,
It's going to be it's going to be like the Charleston. The tennis is the major event for the year that the facility can be used for concerts throughout. So I would think a center court, if we were to build something in Charlotte, would be used about 50 times a year for other entertainment. At the facility in Charleston, they had Elton John and jazz concerts and other artists there. I would see something similar here in Charlotte because it has to kind of pay for itself too, right? They can't do it one time a year.
Do you know what the buses and the trains are going to be called? Are they still going to be CATS? Is it going to be MPTA? Is there going to be a new catchy name?
Yeah, a new catchy name, the Graham Express. I think that sounded great. I don't know. You know, again, foundational stuff, right? And those are things that, you know, I mean, part of this thing that really, we were so focused on getting it passed, that there was not a lot of attention on the details. Like a detail for me was, you know, we probably should have started collecting the taxes in January, and the authority itself is set up by June of 2026, giving us some time to breathe and really thoughtfully think out naming of the board, putting foundational things in place, communicating, because there'll be a lot of communication between the city and the authority in terms of the investment of properties and all of this. It's really complicated, right? Complicated stuff, right? And so hopefully that when the committee does meet, I think late January, December, that they will recognize that we don't have to build the system in a day, right? That they will kind of catch their breath and exhale and said, okay, let's make sure the first 2, 3, 4, 5 steps that we make are solid steps in the right direction based on building a strong foundation for long-term success. And I think that's important to me, and that's why it's really important we get the right people right from the very beginning that understands that.
My last one, I promise. It's kind of inside baseball, but after elections, one of the topics is Mayor Pro Tem. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Dante has earned another term of Mayor Pro Tem, or is this something that you think council will have to discuss?
Yeah, council have to discuss it, right? It's a new term, new council members, 3 new board members. You know, it's open, right? I don't think it's, you know, no, it's open. I'll leave it there.
Do you know when the sales tax increase is going to go into effect?
I think January 1.
I heard July.
I also heard July.
July. I could be wrong.
I heard July.
July?
I think it's on the Davidson website or the Matthews website.
July.
I saw Pineville's website. MPTA probably.
Yeah, so why the rush? They kind of do other stuff.
And Smudgy texted me he's holding you guys to that midnight deadline
for
tomorrow for picking your advancing to the interview round, like the 27th.
Yeah. I fall asleep.
You ready?
Yeah. I'm ready. I've already went through all of them. I've kind of.
Would you say 130 to 140 applications?
Something like that. But you know, because some names jump off the paper, right? Based on the criteria, the filter. You know, it's just jump off the paper, and so respecting the council process, we will do that. We will have the interviews for sure. because I think we also need new voices, new vision, fresh air, younger generation to be a part of this for sure. But the thing is getting it right from the very start.
So on that, Malcolm, when I was asking you earlier, one of the things I was trying to get at is, you already have David Longo and Ned Curran, who are obviously Alliance people. They were picked by the Speaker and the Senate President. So when you're looking at the 130 to 140, do you look at someone like Tracy Dodson or Tracy Montrose or, someone who's in the business community and say, no, you've already got yours, or how do you sort of?
No, again, that's part of what the council has asked for is for all those individuals and organizations that will be appointing members, I think, to do so this week. So we should know everybody's appointees before we even get started, right? And then hopefully, again, not speaking for the council, speaking for Malcolm, everything I said is Malcolm, we can fill in the gaps.
And who picks them? Is it just the special committee, or is it?
Oh, no, the city council, the whole council. You know better than that.
You're giving a lot of power to Luana and James.
No, they're just sifting and sorting.
Yeah, and then it's a full council vote this month.
Yeah, 24th, I think.
Okay.
24th. No, they're just definitely sifting and sorting with a lot. For example, I'm not a member of that committee. I will be attending every meeting. I think Dante's going to be attending every meeting. I think a number. So it may end up being the committee of the whole, right? Because you don't want to give away that much authority to 3 council members, right? At least I don't. I'm not going to give up my voice or my vote to, as much as I respect them. I think that my constituents in District 2 would want to hear my perspective and identifying who's capable and ready based on those criteria that I outlined to step in on day one.
So you're not ruling anybody out, is what you're saying?
I'm not ruling anybody out. I think everybody's on the table. But again, you heard my filter.
Yeah.
And you might have said this. Is there an actual deadline for all the towns and everybody to have their?
Yeah, I think the last appointees will be the county.
Okay.
So they come after the city.
So is there an actual deadline for when everyone has to have their stuff in, their people in?
I think the county is going to do this December 1st. I think right around the 1st of December. Again, I'm not sure. I can fact check that for you though.
Okay.
That might be the January one.
Yeah.
It's certainly not going to be like like in the past after elections, it's like a cooling down transition. You guys got a lot of stuff.
We've got a lot of work to do, and that's why, again, part of, and you've probably heard me say this at meetings, it's just too quick. I mean, you're bound to make mistakes. I'm not sure, again, I didn't write the legislation, but when I read it, that was the first thing that jumped off the paper after 27 board members. Like, okay, you're going to do this when? What, this?
What you're saying about flipping the timeline would make a lot of sense. Start the tax and then have 6 months to do it.
But I think that, again, I was in the room.
The highway project you mentioned, 77. Have you heard from like specific organizations about that?
Macquarie Heights are Raising Cane, for sure, and I got involved in terms of, I knew about it, but now they got maps and drawings, stuff like that. There were a couple of neighbors who were frantic when surveyors were out there surveying their yards, and so it caused this feverish panic, which it probably should, about the impact. And so I think
who's got, is that Cargill or NDC? I can't remember who's got.
I think at NCDOT.
Yeah,
it's fully with NCDOT.
But have they even put that out to bid yet?
No, but we're gonna find out more. And again, I'm just really getting my hands around it, and so I'm. Actually, matter of fact, after I leave here, I'm meeting with some NCDOT folks on the conference call just to kind of who's on first, who's on second.
They did tell me, and maybe you can track down this or get it in writing, like that they are going to ask for a cap on the tolls because it doesn't exist right now with the northern part. Like they can make the toll as high as they want, and I think they want to put like a rate cap in to like address some of the learned mistakes of the past. But I don't. That's just one problem with the toll.
One of many. Folks aren't really concerned about the toll at this point.
Really, it's like more about like the land, like because you have to extend the highway.
And don't take my property. Don't infringe upon historically African American communities. We've done this before. Here we are doing it again, and so we just need to make sure that there's good information out there, and that's why that. Meeting on the 12th and the 13th is really important so that we can make sure that everyone's factual. Obviously, I'll be a lot more educated then than I am now in terms of the impact. I think I kind of know what it is, but I just want to circle back with NCDOT to kind of because both both images that that I saw is kind of unacceptable to me. But that's going to cause some pain and some problems for a lot of folks.
And NCDOT is part of that meeting, right?
Yeah, it's their meeting. It's their meeting. I would imagine.
It's online somewhere. But
Yeah.
Because what is it? Are they?
It's
They
late
would do
afternoon.
2 toll
Wait a
lanes
minute.
on
Why-
both sides.
This is crazy. 2 to 3 o'clock on a Wednesday? Who's going to be there?
Oh, is it? I thought it was later.
2 to 3 o'clock Wednesday, Johnson C. Smith University. That's so bad. 2 to 3 o'clock Thursday at Silvermont. No, everyone's working.
That's also when you're supposed to be interviewing.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's problematic in itself, right? So that leads to more. It's at 4? They changed it?
I-77 toll?
Yeah. I'm reading something from NCDOT dated
Yeah, I thought it was at like 4 o'clock.
10/22, invitation to local officials and information. Maybe it's for local officials.
November 12th and 13th, 4 to 7.
4 to 7? Okay. Oh, this is for elected officials. But even 4 to 7 is okay, I guess. Thank you.
Do you have any like inside scoop into the timeline for the red line or how actually far along it is in design and when ground might actually break?
Foundational. That's where I'm at right now, making sure that there's a solid, firm foundation. Obviously, I'm pretty sure the mayor of Davidson, Davidson, Canadians, and Huntersville, they're probably all on it, but so I'm not sure.
You mentioned budget cycle, potential for, any budget cycle, the potential for more taxes. Has that conversation started yet, or is it too early?
It starts probably now with the city manager. I'm pretty sure he's doing a lot of prepping for the budget cycle next year. Obviously, the council is seated in December 1st, I think. And then right thereafter, we begin to start planning for our retreat in January and preliminary budget discussions. He certainly has identified, based on last year's budget, that 2026 is going to be an interesting, tough year for us. And so I think everyone kind of recognized that we have to do some belt tightening, and that we'll see how the manager and the staff kind of what they present to us. But I'm expecting that's going to be a really interesting conversation that the community needs to understand that, no one wants, I don't want to raise taxes, right? So we're going to probably, and can we cut our way out of it? I'm not sure.
I know nobody wants to cut, nonprofits and stuff like that, and the city's actively accepting those applications now. Do you expect that that's something that might need to be the conversation, or is it too early?
No, I won't even consider